Okay, so we're going to be playing Scup tonight. Is anyone familiar with Scup? Has anyone played it before? No? Okay, cool. It is a largely kind of low fantasy PBTA game. It is inspired mostly by kind of things like Game of Thrones, but I want to, if possible, try and get away from the whole kind of Europe vibe in this session and try and do something a little bit different. I'm a little bit wary of appropriation, so I want to do that, and I don't know a lot about other cultures outside of Europe, so if I start going there in any at any point, just feel free to whack me across the head. And we'll just try and do something which isn't standard. It's not going to be standard Europe, but then we're not necessarily just going to be trying to be doing like Muck Africa either. We'll just try and do something that doesn't bring up those sort of immediately Game of Thrones kind of vibes. So we are scheduled in for 3 hours tonight, or this morning in Australia. And we are going to get through character creation, mythology creation, and then probably kind of like a little bit of first session stuff, and we'll see how that goes. So has everyone got those links downloaded? Cool. Okay. So if you want to have a look at one which is called Combined Sheets, that is where you have got all of your character classes there. So you can have a look through that to get a gist of the kind of thing that you can play in this. But what we're going to do before we create characters is we're going to do mythology creation, and I will talk you through that. So the very first thing you do is set up in the book they call it a creation myth, but it's not like a Genesis creation myth. It's more sort of like a mythological early history. So it's more Exodus than it is Genesis and that sort of thing. It kind of tells kind of like the ancient history of your people and how you got to where you are now. So this is kind of where we can bring in some of the maybe not traditionally European influences into the setup. So in order to do that, we set up. We answer 6 questions. The 6 questions are, in the beginning, then, this resulted in, and because of this, until, and now. And so it's kind of like a very grand version of Mad Libs. What we have is we have a series of answers to each of those questions. So we ask a question, answer it from a list of 6 options, and then we will build out from there. So, we all ready for that? Okay, so does anyone have any sort of like big, like large scale elements that they want to bring in before we start answering the questions here?
I feel like I've come in blank. Like I have like no expectations and no knowledge, so I'm ready to just do whatever.
Well, you suggested something, right, in the initial setup of having a series of islands.
Yeah.
Kind of stuff.
Yeah, I like the idea of a series of islands. Okay, so let's go through these questions and see how it goes. So, so our question for in the beginning, the options are: the world was pristine and unsullied. There was peace between all. We lived in harmony in nature. We lived in harmony with nature. It was a golden age of prosperity and knowledge. Dangerous things were sealed away, or times were hard, but we got by on what we had. If you guys want to have a look at this at the same time, this is in the Scup folder. It's chapter 9, Mythology Creation, and page 3 currently. So it's the options we have are: the world was pristine and unsullied, or there was peace between all, or we lived in harmony with nature, or it was a golden age of prosperity and knowledge, or dangerous things were sealed away, or times were hard, but we got by on what we had. So what are we feeling from those 6 options?
I kind of like number 5.
Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Same here, yeah.
Yeah, I like
I was
number
thinking
5.
4 or 5.
Yes, dangerous things were sealed away. Okay, so I'm going to just put this into the tag on our sheet.
It kind of makes it feel like we've already got someone like looking after us, trying to seal things away. Which is kind of cool.
And also, it means that there are dangerous things which can come out.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, so the next question was: want to expand on what the dangerous things were, or do you want to go on to the next questions and then kind of build up from the skeleton? How do you want to do it? Do you want to do it bit by bit, or do you want to kind of have the whole skeleton build up?
I feel this one is ominous enough to not be general knowledge today, or just mythology for
Okay,
us.
so one of the things about the mythology creation is this is something that you know. So this is a story that you're told. So if we go back to the kind of biblical metaphor, it's like Exodus, like Christian kids know the story of Moses going out of the desert, the Red Sea parting, and stuff like that. So
Is it mythic or is it truthful? I mean, like,
that-
is it the Pandora's box, but it's just metaphor, or
that is entirely up to you as a group.
Okay.
So whether it's real or whether it's not, or whether you know, or whether that matters, it's definitely a myth. It might be a myth that's true, and because we're going to be playing in a world that has magic and stuff like that in it, even if it's quite low level magic, you can kind of edge more towards the at least slightly true part of it. Okay, so we've got some dangerous things that were sealed away. And our next question is then. And the options on then are: a never before seen threat arose, a new power emerged in the land, we meddled in what we should not, rightful rules challenged, our ancient ways were cast aside or forgotten, or supernatural powers unleashed their wrath. Do you want to go for this again?
I think I like 2 and 6. No, hang on.
2 and 6.
No, 3 and
New power
6.
emerged in the land. 3 and 6. We
Three and-
meddled in what we should not, and supernatural powers. Okay, so maybe in sealing one thing away, it kind of left a power vacuum and something else came in its place. That's a possibility. How does everyone else feel about that?
which one was that?
That
3.
would be my
Three.
interpretation. Yeah,
We
that
meddled
would be my interpretation of 6. So
Yeah,
sort of
yeah.
seal some dangerous things away, and then because of that, something else comes in to kind of like fill the vacuum, or something comes in that maybe the dangerous things were. Well, I mean, because my initial thought on dangerous things being sealed away is kind of like old gods, or like your Lovecraftian kind of old ones being sealed away. But dangerous things being sealed away could be like great weapons, so sort of like the ancient equivalent of nukes, for example. So those could be sealed away, and then at that point something else comes in because you have nothing to defend yourself.
You know what? I kind of actually like that idea of 3. I mean, there's a whole lot of what we've done in the modern day, which is, we fight forest fires like the Dickens, only to find out forest fires are kind of important to the way the world works.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, what if dangerous things were sealed away, but we used number 3, we meddled in what we should not. Maybe that was all contributing to balance, and it made things very lopsided.
So by overdoing sealing away dangerous things, we made room for more dangerous things.
Right, or we made a super, I mean, to go with old D&D tropes, like you seal away chaos, you've got this very stagnant law, and at some point cracks appear, and that super calcified whatever reality starts to break. So it doesn't have to be law and chaos. I was just reading Moorcock recently, but just something in that vein. It seems really bad. You put it away, and then in hindsight, you realize, there were a balance to things.
Yeah, cool.
It sounds like we sealed stuff away, and then we actually would have needed them.
Yeah,
or maybe it just needed to exist. We didn't realize what it counteracted.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so this resulted in our meddling in things we should not have resulted in either. Divisions between the people who had long been at peace, that's number 1. Number 2 is our glorious civilization quickly falling into ruin. Number 3 is the rightful order of things being overturned. Number 4 is poverty, famine, and plague overtaking us. Number 5 is wanton death stalking the land. And number 6 is the world crumbled as if nature had turned against us.
I like the ones that kind of like talk about almost like a disruption of balance, which we kind of mentioned in the second category.
Yeah.
So like nature turning against us, or
Like
or the one that actually says that the order was overturned. Yeah.
I like the rightful order of things being overturned, but I think it's maybe a little bit vague in comparison to the others.
Yeah.
The rest of them are sort of like something definite happens. The rightful order, things being overturned. Yeah.
Yeah.
What about
kind of like
either 2 or 6? Then I guess. How are people
Well,
feeling
Bethany,
about?
was there something on the tip of your tongue? I
Um,
feel like you were about to say something.
Sorry.
no.
Carry on. No. Okay. What are people edging towards? I'm liking 2 and 6.
I
but
like 6.
You like 6?
Yeah, I like 6. It's specific enough to generate some ideas.
Yeah. Okay.
And I think it
Ooh.
also isn't like a directly, we put things away, the balance is out of order, we don't see something coming after us, but just the natural order is starting to go awry.
Yeah.
Okay. It's more of a things are not as they should be, as opposed to we are being hunted down by the consequences of our actions.
Right.
yeah.
Okay, so because of this, because the world crumbled as if nature turned against us, option 1 is there was a war which none could avoid. There was chaos, confusion, disorder. There was destruction, our greatness laid to waste. There was fear, dread, and panic. There was hatred, people filled with enmity and rage. Or there was decay and desolation, the once beautiful landscape blighted. I know what I'm going for, but let's hear from you guys.
I like 3.
3 is
Destruction.
the destruction and the state waste. Cool. By the way, Sophie and Bethany, are you happy with me using the phrase "you guys"? I tend to say that a lot, but I don't know if.
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
I didn't even notice.
Cool.
Yeah. But thank you for checking. That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so how are people feeling about number 3?
Yeah,
I'm
I
good with
liked 2, 3, and 4.
So yeah, they're all kind
Three is
of.
good.
I think
There's a lot of overlap, yeah.
There is, but I
Yeah,
think what 3 does is it implies lost civilizations and ancient ruins and that sort of thing, which I think is neat.
Yeah, the reason why I
Super.
kind of liked 3 was because instead of saying just the land went to waste or destruction, it kind of implied that it was the land and also the people who kind of went a bit mad.
Yeah. Oh, have you guys read what was it, Elantris? Like, I think it was Brandon Sanderson's first book, or one of his first books.
I have not what's it about.
So it starts off with people seem like they are undead. There's a disease, and if you catch it, then they take you to this city, which is kind of a remnant of a lost world. And it turns out that the ancient peoples had done something, and magic had gone awry. So this was the consequence of that, and the people were I'm leaving out a lot of details, and I don't remember a lot of details, but it seems sort of like Atlantis-y, in that there was a great civilization that presumed too much and caused a big problem. And so this ailment was, so I feel like our greatness laid to waste kind of ties into something like that. There's a repercussion that's more like affecting us and messing up our world.
Well, I think what our greatness laid to waste. Well, our greatness
Like
laid
the
to
civilization
waste,
falls.
definitely. Yeah, it definitely implies that there was greatness, that there was some sort of big civilization, that there was some great achievement beforehand.
It kind of implies that we were great, and out of hubris, we put dangerous things away, and that unsettled everything and led to a domino effect.
Absolutely.
Ooh.
Okay. So our next question is until. So we've got until option 1 is so there was destruction, our greatness laid to waste until. So heroes stood mightily, scholars gained wisdom, people joined together, sorcerers tamed the unknown, the gods themselves intervened, or the threat mysteriously vanished.
I like the last 2.
We've got the gods and the threat mysteriously vanished. Okay.
Yeah.
What's
I
everyone
don't
else?
know, just I feel like
Sorry.
I kind of like
let's-
4. Sorcerers tamed the unknown, but I like it in 6 for the same reason, which is like we don't really know. It could come back at any time.
Yeah, that's why I liked the last 2. I guess the 4 works as well because it's just like it is fixed, but also how and why. Like,
Right.
What I like about 4 is it's active and it says something about the world, so you know that there are sorcerers and you know that they tame stuff, which says something about the way that you guys would treat magic and sorcerers in your world. What I like about 6 is it's kind of just like the end of winter. Like stuff has gone away, and there would be like a tension. I'm guessing because everyone's
Yeah,
kind
like
of
you
waiting
never
for it
know
to
when
come
it's
back.
coming back.
Yeah,
Looking at the last step, I feel like 6 lends itself to also step 5 in the and now the must live with constant vigilance. If it just vanished mysteriously, we don't, everything seems sort of tense because we don't know when our luck is running out. Whereas
But
4,
you could say
Okay.
5 works from. So you could say the last step, and now 5 works with 4 as well. Because maybe like the sorcerers have like overcome with power and like trying to run things now because they're like, we keep the balance.
Oh, yeah, I don't know how much you guys were into Dark Sun ever, but if we did number 4, the Sorcerers Tame the Unknown, I kind of like the idea of them now being despotic. Everybody sort of lives underneath them,
that's
sort
cool.
of like the
That could
Sorcerer
be
Kings.
interesting.
I would be up for that.
Yeah, we saved the world and now we rule it.
Right.
Or-
Yeah, I think that's cool. How does everyone else feel about that?
Yes.
I'm good.
Like Sorcerer's Team the Unknown. Let's go for that then, because I like the Sorcerer King thing. Because yeah, I would super into Dark Sun.
And then, I don't know, would that go with the Never Return to Those Innocent Days?
Okay, so our last one is the and now. Things are back as they were, but we never forget. Or there's an uneasy truce, or we've ensured such things will never happen again, or we can never return to these innocent days, or we must live a life in constant vigilance, or ruin is all around, a constant reminder of the past.
I kind of like there was an uneasy truce.
With the uneasy truce,
I didn't realize there was a 6. It was on the next page.
Yeah.
Ruin is all around constant. If it was recent, then number 6 would make sense.
I like 6.
Or number 1.
Because one of the things that I had when I pitched this was like a kind of an archipelago setup, and if what we have is sort of like floods, if there's some floods with destruction, what your archipelagos would be sort of like bits of the old civilization.
Oh, yeah.
coming up from the sea, and each of those islands could be ruled by one of their sorcerer kings or sorcerer lords or whatever we call them.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I like that.
Does that sound good with everyone?
So the sorcerers tamed the unknown by drowning the world.
That's
Yeah.
actually
Nice.
fantastic. I kind of
But
like the idea.
Yeah, it drowned
nice.
all whatever it was that was dangerous, and I like that.
Tame
That's
the
like
world by
interesting.
drowning. That's terrifying. What are these guys?
Yeah, we waterboarded all our problems away.
Yeah.
So let's expand on that a little bit more. So, what were the dangerous things that we sealed away? Are we talking sort of like old gods? Are we talking like great weapons? Are we talking tomes of knowledge?
I like the idea of them being beings.
Yeah, it could be a
Things that can come back.
civilization,
Oh,
Like a different
rival
kind of
civilization
race.
with, other powerful sorcerers or
Okay, yeah,
magicians.
like a race that came before.
Right.
Yeah, that's neat.
oh.
And they
What
could be
if-
quite. Sorry, Cameron. Yep.
In sort of a meta way, not that the whole world is completely engineered, but the whatever civilization came before kind of balanced the world. It required some like active sort of monitoring, but as the younger folk came up and pushed those old ones out, they defeated their old masters, but now they didn't realize the hand that the masters needed to keep
Yeah,
everything in balance.
So,
And
I
so
think what we have.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, carry on, sorry.
I was going to say, so maybe the sorcerers not really understanding what all was involved in controlling things, just did this sort of blanket, like, we'll do something, big and huge. And yeah, so it devastated the world by flooding everything, but at least those problems are band-aided for now.
Yeah, I
Bandage
think
for
what we kind of have is you've got kind of a constant flow of like despotic rulers and people rising up against them, and then becoming despotic, and then rising up against them. that seems to be kind of where we're going. So I think if we have, are we talking? I think it'd be kind of neat if they were like alien in some way, not like from another planet, but something sort of like. So we're humans. We raised up against something else that was there before us. Maybe it's so long ago we don't know what it is now. Has anyone read the Locke Lamora books, the Gentleman Bastard series?
The first one.
There's the city that they live in is they've kind of built it, but they built it on the ruins of a previous civilization which had this like crazy technology, and it's implied that they were like aliens, or like not aliens, but something different. Okay, do we want to give a name to the things we locked away?
Ooh, time to be creative, guys. Naming things.
Are we talking? Are they like human-sized? Are we talking that maybe they're larger than us, which is how they dominated us? So we could go with something like Goliaths or Titans, or
yeah. For some reason I kept thinking Glycine.
Glycine. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Does it mean anything? It doesn't.
It's very similar to the name of Glycine. I think a food product which is used to set jelly, I think. Anyway, yeah.
Oh,
but
like
they're tough.
glycerin.
It's tough. Yeah, like glycerin. Yeah, glycine.
Oh.
Yeah. Forgive me and my food knowledge. I had school yesterday.
Maybe they had something to do with food.
Maybe they were like completely natural beings. Like, I get humans are natural, but like completely paleo and completely like vegan and just basically lived with the earth.
That makes me think of like Princess Mononoke, that big spirit.
Yeah.
And how the humans wanted to lop off its head to stop its threat, but then that was, terrible.
Yeah.
So there was something of that nature. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Glycine ruled the world. They were gigantic spirit creatures who kept things in order, but ruled us destructively.
I like it.
Yeah.
So we sealed them away. How did we seal them away?
We drowned them.
Drowning comes much later. The drowning
I
is
see. This is the
drowning
first.
is
Okay.
we sealed them away, which fucks everything, and then we fixed what we fucked by drowning everything because because humans.
We stole their hearts and
That's good.
put them away.
That's nice.
Oh. What if in doing that then, like the islands and things, if these things were truly Titanic, we're living in the shells of those old beings, like they sort of calcify, they become, almost like landmass. Like my daughter watches a lot of Moana.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. But where did we seal them? So we sealed them by stealing their hearts, or maybe stealing their hearts turned them into the land.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is Moana.
Moana.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Or when she gets her heart back, she turns into land or something. I can't remember exactly.
Well, what if it's sort of metaphoric now? It's so kind of like in the past that we don't really know what sealing away. We know that like we took their hearts, but we don't really know what that means because we don't have a good concept of what those beings were.
Sure. Well, and if this is thousands of years ago and we're currently being ruled by despotic sorcerer kings, I think that they might be telling us this story. Like, there were these things that came before us. You fucked it up. We saved you. And now that's why you do the stuff that we say.
It might not be 100% reliable.
It might not be 100% reliable, no.
As with history.
Presumably the hearts are somewhere.
I like the idea that these gigantic things were... Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No.
Oh, so that these gigantic things were still there. They were just like frozen or dead. Until somehow they were reanimated.
Well, and speaking of the hearts that are still somewhere, we've got 3 sessions, including this one, which is mostly going to be character gen and story gen and stuff like that. So why don't we make it about the hearts?
Okay.
What if the hearts, like, somehow got passed down, and that's how sorcerers became a thing?
Okay, so the unspeakable
that's how
power
they get
comes
their
from the
power.
hearts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay.
Oh, you guys, I don't know. I'm sorry. I keep going to movies. Think of like the Dark Crystal. You know, the Skeksis have their bits of crystal, but you know, you put it back, and they're actually bits and pieces of what were before. You know. So yeah, I like the idea of the sorcerers utilizing that old power for themselves, but not correctly.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's our in the beginning. We've got our then, which is we meddled, and I think all of these kind of go together a little bit. So we've got the then we meddled in things which we should not, which resulted in the world crumbled as if nature turned against us. And because of this, there was destruction of greatness laid to waste. Now, this implies that after we sealed things away and we stole their hearts, there was time for us to build civilization. So if we go with the idea of their bodies kind of calcifying and turning into land, becoming, you know, their blood becoming rivers, or their blood becoming the seas. I forget what that's from. I think that's Greek, isn't it? Greek mythology. No, it's Norse.
It's Norse, Ymir. Yeah, Ymir. I don't know how to say it.
So their blood becomes the seas, and their hair becomes the grass and stuff like that.
Right.
So if we go with that kind of thing, then maybe the meddling in things that we should not is like a civilization started to rise up off the back of that, and we started to mine and build great buildings using the Glycine's bones and stuff like that. How does that sound to you guys?
Yeah.
Yeah,
What
I
if
like
the
that.
hearts? Oh, go ahead, Bethany. Sorry.
Oh, I just in one of the playbooks, there's a move that's like when you literally devour the heart of your enemy, you automatically receive a full hit on any move or any basic move that was something your enemy was good at. So like that's already sort of built into this.
Yeah, that's
so
cool.
maybe like we stole their hearts and the people who did it, yeah, like literally ate them or consumed them in some metaphorical way, and used that for the power that then powered our civilization.
Yeah.
What if actually we say our civilization, but it's actually the sorcerer's civilization? Like the sorcerers are the last remnants of that. They take the power from the hearts, they use it, their technology is all based on using it, and then when they realized everything was going to hell, these are the ones who managed to survive by sort of trying to fix things a little bit without giving up their power. You know, we might not know that.
Magic.
You know,
so I think the magic then is going to be heavily blood magic, isn't it? It's going to be sort of like cutting the hearts out of things. And the more,
yeah, sacrificial kind of.
Yeah, and the more
like a kind of give and take.
The more powerful it becomes.
Would the sorcerers then not be us, or would we be, you know, like the descendants of the poor, whereas they are the descendants of the aristocrats? Or
you have a selection of playbooks, so one of you can absolutely be a sorcerer.
I like the idea that if it didn't happen too recently that we, like, the sorcerers raised up the water level, basically, that when you eat the heart of like such a extraordinary being, you get so much power that they were able to do stuff like that. And then as the power is passed down through, I don't know, maybe like just a couple of generations, it's starting to fade. So maybe that's what's causing.
I think also, like sometimes the eating of the heart is literal. Like you literally have to eat it. But I think when they talk about the eating of the heart, that it's something. I think it's kind of metaphorical, like absorbing the power. Like I kind of have the idea that if we've got like the land being the Gleason's like bodies, then the hearts being like these gigantic jewels that kind of sit in a throne room. Okay, so I have this thing that the civilization was built up from the bodies of the Glycine, and they built great civilization. But because you're literally building out of the bodies of things that hate you, it's starting to turn against us, and like buildings would collapse, and like the trees, because the trees that we used literally like part of these creatures. So they sort of like came in and started entrenching, like growing almost aggressively fast towards us and kind of destroying any civilization that we didn't constantly maintain. How's that sound?
I like that. The power itself kind of still managed to sabotage things it was used
Yeah.
for.
Yeah,
That's really cool.
I kind of like that rather than being dead, they're kind of still in or at least until the sorcerers drowned them, they were still in kind of like a violent death throes, but we didn't know. Okay, then the sorcerers drowned them. We know that happened.
What if, and we don't know whether this is metaphorical because it's, the way it's preached to us now, but what if they kind of talk about the land cracking, fire coming up, lava and stuff, so they literally had to drown the land. They had to cover up all the damage being done to the land. We had to live above the land, and
and now we live on these little bits that are left, so we kind of like live on islands, big islands, and they're kind of what would have been the top of mountains and stuff like that previously, which I guess are what islands always kind of are, but okay. That is creation myth, and that's a badass creation myth. Well done, everyone. What does our culture look like? How do we dress? I guess first of all, what's the climate like in this kind of world that we've been playing in? Because that determines a lot of other stuff, doesn't it? I'm guessing you're going to be a seafaring people because you've got how big are the gaps between the islands? Are we sort of talking quite large gaps between the islands, or sort of like big islands with little smaller ones in between? How does that work?
Sorry to answer your question with another question, but how like technically advanced are we?
I don't think you would be very technically advanced, because I think that the Sorcerer Kings or the Sorcerer Lords would want to maintain
power.
Maintain their power, and if they've got magic to do it, and the rest of you guys don't have magic to do it, then that kind of keeps you down. If you have technology,
just because I'm always a fan of skyships and stuff like that. What if the water itself is sort of toxic from its contact with the land, with muting down or canceling out whatever it's covering up, and so as opposed to being seafaring, we have to avoid the sea. It's more about being above the sea.
Okay,
and I'm thinking, like, what if the land has some of that magic in it? So it's not like you enchant a ship to make it fly, but there are some materials that we can use. It's functionally,
like
sailing, just not on the water.
I like the idea of the water being dangerous. I wonder if sky ships, like flying ships, moves us a bit too into high fantasy. But I do like the idea of the water being dangerous. So what about you've got you have your ships, but it's dangerous. So like going out and being fishermen is sort of like even more so than it is in the real world a really dangerous thing. And like moving between islands on ships is something that you only do if you're desperate or
like
you're trying to go. Subterfuge. But other than that, what about if there's sort of like giant bridges in between the islands?
Oh,
that's cool.
Yeah.
So most people travel over the bridges, but then that's heavily regulated and stuff like that. So if you're on a boat, it's because you don't want to get caught.
Yeah.
So smugglers take to ships.
Those are old bridges. Then they're still.
I think they are. I think they're old bridges.
But the sorcerers, they still had enough resources to get them built. So
yeah. And I think that that because they're so old, you've got this kind of like very, very grand old architecture from the previous civilization, and then it's just been patched, and as time has kind of destroyed it, it's just been patched over like more shabbily, and it's getting more and more shabby as it goes on. And there's bits of it, so there's and in islands where they don't get on, when there's islands that are at war, maybe like some of the bridges being blown up or purposely not maintained. It's kind of like a militarized border, but it's a bridge.
I also like the idea of the bridges maybe being sort of a concession by the sorcerers. There's no island that's truly like self-sufficient enough that they could just completely, crush down on the population. They have to let, the hoi polloi or whatever, like go back and forth a little bit, trade with each other.
Yes,
maybe the sorcerers are antagonistic with each other.
Yeah. But I think maybe that's something that they do if someone is rebelling. They just destroy the bridges. And it's like, well, now what are you going to do?
Oh, and cut them off.
You cut them off, and they're surrounded by just the water. And I think if okay.
I can imagine like the biggest towns being centered around those bridges, right? Even like the name of the bridge the same as the name of the town.
Yeah.
Yes,
and
yes,
if you're like high up in social rank, you actually live on the bridge.
Yeah.
The town at which end, though? I imagine there would be a town at each end of the bridge.
That's very true. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
So maybe it would be
a
like
town that has multiple bridges going into it.
that would be
if-
like the major city.
What
Yeah.
if we flipped it? Like, what if the cities were on the bridges? You know, the island are the sources of resources. There's, you know, going out into them, getting stuff, bringing it back.
I like having island civilizations, but I think what you would have on the bridges is you have it's kind of like stuff that's built up around that. Yeah, absolutely. So you have people living there, and maybe that's where some of the poorer people live. They live alongside the bridges, and they're just trying to like scrape the living out of the people who are traveling in between, because the kind of the civilizations on the islands, and then the kind of the more downtrodden people are kind of forced out of that and have to live on the bridges, and kind of it's basically kind of like a permanent caravan in between all of the islands.
Yeah, like markets running along the bridges and stuff where people
Yeah,
live
yeah.
and sell stuff.
Because I imagine it's quite a way, you know, it's days traveling between some of these islands, so it's you have to resupply on the way.
Am I imagining the bridges right if I'm thinking, oh, those are the main stone structures of architecture? And
I think so. I think what you have is the larger ones, especially between the kind of like the capital islands, are going to be like large stone structures. I think in between smaller islands, people are going to make their own bridges, and you have kind of like wood and bamboo and stuff like that. Does that sound cool?
yeah.
And I think like the thing you were saying about it, like the bridges being important, is like the cities and the towns being, or the islands being named after the bridges. I think what we can go with there is that there can be like a great source of pride in these bridges, and that the grander your bridge, the kind of like the grander your island, because all the islands kind of the same once you get there, but like the poor islands just have like little kind of like wood bridges and stuff like that in between. Okay. Sorry, Bethany, what were you going to say?
Oh, I was just saying that would reinforce like a poor island with a rickety, terrible bridge going to it would just get poorer and poorer, and a rich island that has all these large, easy to traverse bridges would just become the major commerce center. So
Exactly, yeah. Awesome.
The rich help the rich.
Yeah.
What's the temperature like here? What's the climate like? Because that will kind of inform our clothing choices.
I'm picturing hot, but I think it may be because I've been like islands connected by bridges. I've been picturing like the Florida Keys, so I could be completely off.
No, I like hot. I like the idea of being somewhere hot. So we got to. So it's not going to be. Okay.
Heavy
so
armor.
It's not going to be heavy armor. It's not going to be heavy clothing. It's going to be kind of light clothing, light armor, sun beating down, darker skinned people. Does that all sound good?
Sounds good.
Cool. Is there? I'm trying to think of like a cultural, like a mass cultural thing. So it's like a culture of tattooing, or a culture of doing our hair in a certain way.
I kind of like the idea that like each island has a certain look that might be a little bit different from everybody else, but
Nice.
if you didn't want to associate with that, there are people who just don't have.
Oh, I lost Sophie then. Sorry, Sophie, I lost you for a second. Can you repeat that?
Yeah, each island would have one decorating your hair a certain way, or like a certain tattoo, but there are some people who kind of like rebel against that, and they're just like almost faceless.
Yeah, okay.
Don't know where they belong or where they came from.
And I think that could actually be a phrase as well that they use there. So if you don't belong anywhere, you're faceless because you don't have that particular. So you're saying that they don't have a tattoo on their face to say which kind of the islands they belong to.
Yeah.
If you purposely don't have that, that's like a real big fuck you to society kind of a thing. And then you're faceless.
Yeah, because I feel like each each island would be run by a sorcerer, like a sorcerer king, and kind of by tattooing your face, or however we're going to show it, it's like showing the respect and like being like, this is where I came from, this is who I like worship, or this is whatever. And without it, it's like, haha, no.
I must say, it's an off, right?
Yeah.
We keep saying Sorcerer Kings because I said it a bunch of times because we were using the Dark Sun reference. Are they all dudes? Are there women Sorcerer Lords? How does it work?
Definitely. I think all genders.
All genders, cool.
Yeah.
I think it's more of a class than a gender thing.
Yeah. I was gonna say one thing though. I feel like since you were saying about like rejecting society, I feel like, you know, there would have to be an age at which you tattoo yourself up.
So it's not coming of age. So,
there has to be a way to remove them when you've turned your back, or otherwise.
I feel like
them.
After you've like studied or whatever, certain kings might like certain rulers. Certain rulers might like want you in their country, and then in their island for like a certain trade, I guess.
I think there's like a coming of age thing where you get tattooed, and if you can kind of skip out on it beforehand, then that works. I think also if you want to become faceless after you've already been tattooed, you actually have to like burn it off.
To cover them up,
Yes.
You just like could tattoo your entire face with that color.
Oh, that's neat. Yeah, just like a blackout tattoo.
Oh, and it completely removes your facial features by everything being black.
Yeah, just all solid brown or black or blue or whatever color.
Nice. Yeah. There is a character class called the Black Hood, and that would be an awesome look for that character.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, yeah.
What if by like putting your face in this water, it like just removed everything?
Oh, okay. So the water's toxic, so you can burn. Yeah. Oh, okay. So the source of the tattooing ink is the water.
Yeah, they use the tattoo to like they use the water to tattoo because it's almost like
it just stains you.
Yeah.
I also can imagine there's like a basic set if you're of this ruler's thing, right? And maybe even as you grow higher in status, you get to add stuff to your face tattoo.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So,
I like that.
So it shows status.
I was gonna say, what if like the tattoo ink, like the tattooing, it's not just like a show, like it actually binds you to that sorcerer. Like there is some of their magic in the ink. That's why it's such a ritual, like a coming of age ritual. And I think that ties into the sticking your face in the water, because if doing that like destroys the magic that is in the ink of the tattoos.
I think it ties you back to the blessing at that point.
But I've seen it almost like a surveillance thing, like, you know, like in steampunk, you know, cyberpunk, having a chip in your skin, like allows you to be tracked. What if this would allow you to be tracked by the sorcerers?
That's neat. I like it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm just trying to find the list of character classes, because I think, are we sort of ready to go on to doing characters now, everyone?
I think so. I was going to say, just for the tattoos then, if we're going to add the idea of you add to it over the course of your life and over the course of your stature and, you know, getting involved, the basic tattoo is maybe just an eye mask or just a cheek mask or just a forehead. You know, it has to be something.
Like one little detail.
Like
I think it depends on
like
which faction I guess you belong to.
Oh, right,
That depends on where you get the first one. But it would have to be small so they add on potentially.
Yeah.
I also feel like not a lot of people get add-ons.
Okay.
It's like heraldry for your face.
Could you have like counterfeit add-ons?
I think you could, absolutely, yeah. And I think there'll be a way of telling, but that's like something that you can kind of bluff your way through.
Magic makeup.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or even like markets where you've like taken water and done a shoddy job at the tattoo.
Oh, I also feel like if there's going to be blood magic and things like that, I feel like there's going to be, you know, some sort of black market of like, you know, really horrid reselling of faces.
God,
yeah.
Ooh.
Wow, that's horrifying and awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's very cool. Okay. let's go through some characters. I can't actually find the list of character classes, but I've got the sheet. So if everyone wants to get up the one which is complete PDFs.
Yep.
The character classes we have are the Adept, who is a sorcerer and wizard. We have the Beloved, who is like a cult leader, someone who's deeply connected to the unspeakable power in a more sort of personal way. So the Adept is someone who learns and gains mastery over it. The Beloved is someone who talks to it personally. So the Beloved is more sort of like a cult leader figure. You've got the Black Hood, who is an assassin. And one of the things they get to do, one of their moves is at the start of every session, they can kill someone. Like any NPC, they can just name them and they're dead.
Holy hell.
You've got, I don't think, I think you have to roll and like stuff can go wrong with it, but yeah, it's pretty.
But still.
You've got the Bloodletter, who
awesome.
is a healer. You've got the Crown, who is a ruler. You've got the Gauntlet, who is a soldier. You've got the Hex, who is a witch. You've got the Liar, who is a kind of they're kind of like a bard, except for not in the shitty D&D sense of having a bard.
Okay, good, good. All right,
like an actual bard who goes around
like an actual good character.
Yes. When we played, when I played this with my face-to-face group, the Liar, but they played them as just like a con artist. So you don't have to bring a storyteller into it. So they were just someone who goes around kind of stirring up rabbles and causing trouble.
Yeah.
You've got
It's like a Skinner in Apocalypse world, right?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
You have the Screw, who is a torturer. They are very dark. At this point, I haven't mentioned it so far, but we will have X card on the table. So if anything makes you uncomfortable at any point, just put your X's up and we will backtrack.
Yep.
Can I ask real quick, without having read them real detailed, what's the difference between the Hex and what was the first one, the Adept, I think?
It's in the move. So if, what we will do in a sec is we'll take a little 5-10 minute break, and I'll give you time to read through the character classes, read through their moves. They are both. The game's called The Sword, the Crown, and the Unspeakable Power, and the character classes tend to fall into those as well. So you've got people who rule, people who are just badass, and then you've got people who harness the power, and they all do it in different ways. So like the Liar and the Crown are both different aspects of the Crown, basically. So the Hex is more witch-like, it's more curses, it's more, and the Adept is more sort of a traditional wizard. Okay, and we have the Spur, who is a leader of a militia unit.
A military unit.
I don't know if you've played the Apocalypse World anyone, but that's basically the biker gang.
Oh, yeah.
And you've got the Voice, who is an advisor to power. That is your Worm Tongues and your Varices. It's the meddler. We're saying at this point as well that this is a potentially PvP game. So if someone says, no, fuck it, I want to be the Sorcerer King, that's fine, but do expect people to be trying to kill you.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll now take, let's call it 10 minutes, so you've got a good chance to look through the sheets and have a think about it. And see what everyone fancies playing, and then we'll come back and do characters in just a sec. See you in a minute.
See ya.
All right.
Hey Bethany, is there anything that's appealing so far out of the ones that you've seen there?
I'm interested in the hex or the bloodletter.
Cool. What are their moves to again? If you can remind me.
Right, let me find which of the dozen windows I have open here on my computer has it.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a window I closed. That.
So you can curse people.
There we go. You know the moves of those ones, or
Yeah, I'm just having a look at it. Yeah, no, they are. So what does the let's have a quick look at the bloodletter? Because the hex I kind of get immediately. You can sacrifice an NPC to save a mangled, ill, or dying person. That's dark.
Yeah, I kind of like the idea of a like dark, creepy healer.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
that's not where your mind immediately goes when you think healer. You know.
I think that's why it's called. Yeah, why it's the bloodletter rather than anything else. Okay, so Bethany is looking at the bloodletter or the hex. Matthias, what are you looking at?
So, one question and one idea. The question is, and we don't need to answer it right away. If anybody, or if we as a group want to have someone who plays the one of the sorcerer rulers.
Did you want to?
That? Not necessarily, but it's definitely an interesting challenge. And
I think we certainly can. I think what it does is it makes the campaign about them. Then I think.
Potentially, yeah, and that's kind of like.
Because we never decided which side we were on. Because we could all be on the sorcerer's side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It could be that there's some rebellion up against it, and you're trying to stop that. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like the new Star Wars Battlefront game. We get to play both sides.
What's the deal with that?
So you get to play basically where you fight the rebellion, and you get to like. I mean, I'm not going to give it away with any spoilers, but you get to play a character who is fighting the rebellion.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
And half the reason of why I'm asking is because I might be interested in having a patron that is another player character.
Oh yeah. One of the things in this is the patron. So are you thinking about having a patron which is one of the sorcerer kings?
Potentially, or someone high up or something like that. Definitely.
I was going to suggest that I like the idea of the power level of the sorcerers kind of being. I mean, like I know PBTA tends to handle divergent, power levels in terms of that kind of power, but I still kind of like the idea of them being above our pay grade. The only way we can kind of deal with them is more fictionally than like in the toe-to-toe sort of power
more
level.
at the level of a god.
Yeah.
So maybe the any magic user characters that we have would be kind of like a priest caste or kind of like a tribal kind of a thing. Does that make sense? Yeah.
I mean, I don't want it to be totally Dark Sun, but I kind of like the idea of the adepts being like in the vein of the sorcerers, like maybe pupils or like taking the magic cast-offs that they're willing to give, whereas the hexes are more like hedge witches and like sort of self-taught looking for magics that they're not permitted to have.
So you've got like the priests who have the sorcerers, and then you've got the witches on the outside who are kind of like an almost rebellious religion.
Yeah.
There's certainly the potential, though, that a player character could replace a sorcerer ruler.
Yeah, I think so.
Things play out, right?
To find out what happens.
If someone plays the adepts, then they could be.
Yeah.
The
but
next
my actual
sorcerer.
idea was I was looking at the lyre.
Okay, cool.
And I was thinking the talent is it's basically the tattoo artist.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's neat. That's
Place
cool.
them in a social kind of powerful level.
Yeah.
Where they do their stuff and are involved in the intrigues.
Okay, because they're so they're sort of like a high up very respected, one of the tattooists.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, that's cool. Okay, Sophie, what are you thinking?
I liked the
Okay.
screw and the oh boy, what are you called, friend? And the Black Hood, because I like playing weird characters. Yeah.
I do like the Black Hood, and the Black Hood implicitly brings in kind of like a secret organization as well. So I think that's kind of neat. Okay,
Yeah.
so between those two, and Tejas, which ones are you between?
I haven't really gotten into the moves themselves, but just like on theme, I liked the Adept, the Gauntlet, and the Lyre.
Okay.
But
Okay, so we've got Hex Bloodletter, probably a Lyre, a Black Hood, or a Screw, or a Adept, Gauntlet, or Lyre. So what do we think is a kind of a mix? The Gauntlet is a good character. It's a good fun character. They're kind of quite straight ahead. I love the idea of having a Black Hood in here because I haven't played with one of those before. I think I would rather have, if it's all right with you, Bethany, a Hex than the Bloodletter.
Sounds good to me.
I think the Bloodletter is more for kind of like a party thing, whereas the Hex I think brings more story with it.
Yeah. Okay.
And Matthias, you're going to go with Lyre?
Yeah, I like that.
Okay, cool. Let's go to those characters then. Where did I
Sweet.
put that sheet? Okay, so if we go back to the character sheet, if you want to grab a column each, write in your name and your character class.
I'm sorry, so between the Gauntlet and the Adept, you said you were more interested in the Gauntlet, or you were just saying that it's...
No, I'm fine with either of those.
Okay.
I think they both work. I think particularly if we have the Adept as kind of like one of the priest class things, I think that's kind of neat.
What I was actually thinking was, just because of what we said about the Faceless, I kind of liked the idea of taking an Adept who was a Faceless, somebody who had like kind of turned their back on what they had, been brought up inside of, somebody who had been very, you go to the military academy and it's because it's what your parents expect of you and you're on your career path and then something happens to really disenfranchise you.
Yeah, that can work, yeah.
Although I guess the same story could go for the Gauntlet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in terms of spread, we don't have any straight up. So we got the Lyre, who's kind of like a crown. Actually, we've got kind of one of each, because the Black Hood is kind of a sword character. So up to you. I do like those straight ahead, nasty, badass characters.
I'm sorry, Bethany, are you doing the Hex? Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll just go with the Gauntlet so that you can, really revel in being the magic-y person.
Cool, that makes sense.
I feel like it
Okay.
splits,
I'll call you the right-
interest if we are both that.
Cool. You have names to choose from, or you can come up with your own names. Perfectly fine with that. They kind of give suggestions for the coming up with your own names, like on the Bloodletter, it's something noble, something kind, or something haughty. And you've got a stat block to choose from, so you choose one of those.
I didn't initially look at the spur because I kind of forgot about it. But if I kind of go with that idea of turning my back on the establishment, I kind of like the idea of like yanking a whole bunch of people out with me and therefore being really on the outs.
I like that.
That's good.
I like that a lot. Yeah, that's cool. I'm into that. Spur's a fun character as well. So you're essentially a rabble rouser at that point.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So on the stats, what is the difference between wily and sly?
They are very similar, aren't they? And I forget which ones they are.
Okay.
the gist is that they just they trigger different moves.
Okay.
So let's have a look at what's the basic moves.
Sly is more the read a person situation, I think, and Wily is the.
Face duress is steady, which is the kind of the act under pressure kind of move. Threaten with force and engage in combat are both fierce. Persuade with leverage is wily. Study a situation is sly. Study a person is sly, and speaking power is arcane. So studying people is sly, and planning and stuff like that. So being prepared is wily. But yeah, they are almost synonyms. I'm not keen on those names.
Could have been better. I really like games where they give you the opportunity to like talk to people and ask them like relationship questions. I feel like they just set off the game very nicely. Yeah,
they do. Yeah. So you're all going to have relationship questions in a sec, and then each session I'm going to give you an entanglement as well, which is a little bit of a plot hook and a way for you to earn XP.
Hell yeah.
The basic moves aren't in the basic rules?
No, they're not. They are in it's number 4. Yeah. I know 4 is basic rules. It's SCUP basic moves preview.
Ah, okay, I see it. I'm sorry. I've been living in Pittsburgh too long. I tend to say statements as my questions, so throw something at me if you like.
My family's from Pittsburgh. Now that you mention it, it kind of, yeah.
You don't notice it until someone points it out.
Right.
Oh, get a move from another playbook. Okay.
So Matthias, with the with you taking the liar as the tattoo artist character concept, I think that kind of implies that they're kind of like
it's performative.
It's performative, but also that they carry a great deal of weight with them, so it's kind of like sacred as well. Does that make sense? Like they're like a highly thought of like cast of people almost.
Yeah, because what I was thinking, like in a special position, right?
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily carrying like social responsibility in sense of ruling over people, but like they're the ones that even like high status people have to go to get their tattoos or their enhancement if they rise up. And also, I imagine we kind of talked a little bit about this, that it's kind of a special kind of ink.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think like just everybody can just properly apply those kinds of tattoos.
I think people can do it really, really badly, and it goes wrong. I think there's
it might come with like unintended side effects.
Right? Yeah, because you were talking earlier about it having some sort of like magical ability and like that it ties you to people, and I think you end up with kind of like bad wild magics in you if you get someone else to do it for you. So it almost becomes like a slightly cyberpunky kind of thing there, which is kind of neat.
I like that. Maybe that's why I'm a hex. My tattoos were bad.
Your tattoos are bad,
Like I tried to get our counterfeit ones, like going to a to a person to make a fake ID, and like that person was bad at tattooing.
I also
Now
like
have
the idea
this
that
crazy
maybe you've
magic,
done them
so,
yourself.
I mean, it worked out well.
That you've,
yeah,
that you've
that's
done something
even better. I
yourself
like
as
that.
well. That you've just and they're these crazy kind of like hacked on tattoos. That's almost like scarification from having done it badly.
Yeah, cool.
Matthias, I was going to say, if you like this idea, I think that another thing that might make, and it would tie in setting wise, because there's so much sort of arcane power that the sorcerers are trying to lock down. What if there was some sort of taboo about paper and written language, so that tattoos were the way that people kept their history? I mean, like, by and large, it's a very oral society, but the one type of, writing that is not, prescribed is, what you do. It's a way that, so people come to seek you out for, contracts where they both, get it tattooed on their arms when they made the agreement, and they, when somebody's passed on, they come to you because they want to remember their grandparents, and, that whole sort of, you're a keeper of history as well as, an artist.
There's the thing that there's a dogma that you don't write down things on paper, because that's how stuff went wrong previously. We learned too much and stuff like that. That's what the sorcerers are telling us. We learned too much. So now if you want to write something down, you have to write it down on your skin, because you'd have to be sure that you want it on you forever, and it hurts. You have to know that. So like knowledge costs you, basically. And so the sorcerers, like the more adept sorcerers, are going to be absolutely covered in these beautiful, intricate tattoos that cover their entire bodies.
Yes.
Sweet.
And this still allows for some upward movement. So it's not purely cased, but kind of.
Yeah. I think the tattoo artists and the adepts, they're probably kind of like sought out. Like there's kind of like a like they don't get any choice in this. They're just kind of like the sorcerers come down, or the sorcerers minions come down, find the people with talent, and take them off to their like academies and stuff like that.
This has many implications. This has implications that very rich people keep other people, keep information on them, on their backs, right?
Oh my goodness, that's fantastic.
Which is a thing. And also you can have people who are basically people who have forbidden knowledge, right? Because they have like forbidden stuff written on them.
Oh, that's good. That's really good. Yeah. Are the other tattooers, are they slaves then? Are they kind of like well-kept slaves?
I feel like they'd have to, like the legal tattooers would have to be like pretty important people to be able to be tasked with like branding people like that.
But you would also want to keep them in check, right? You want to have some societal.
So it's not like they're slaves, but it's like you've been trained up, and if you try, basically you have freedom, but if you try and leave, they're gonna fucking kill you.
Yeah.
Because you're too powerful. That's neat. How is everyone doing on their stats and stuff like that?
Good.
I keep having to go back to see what goes with what.
Yeah.
Sure. Steady is just for general acting cool. Fierce is for causing or threatening violence. Wily is for manipulating people. Sly is for figuring stuff out. And arcane is for doing magic. So all of you have the equivalent of you've got, everyone has a basic move called Whisper into the Unspeakable Power, which is the equivalent of the Whisper into the World Psychic Maelstrom thing from Apocalypse World. It's just something which allows you to get an impression of something. So everyone can do that because the Unspeakable Power is everywhere, but only magic users can use it to enact changes upon the world effectively. XP in this, we do highlighted stats at the start of the game, And once per scene, you can get XP for rolling on a highlighted stat. You will also have some moves on your individual playbooks, which might give you XP. Everyone will have an entanglement at the start of each session, which they can use, which they can act on to get XP. And also, the first time that you use an honor move, you get XP. I'll explain about honor moves in a sec.
One of my gear is just called a black hooded cloak, of course. Very dashing. I like it. I also, for my look, I chose the third gender, which I kind of thought that all faceless could just be like this weird kind of unknown sort of thing. Like as soon as you like do that to your face, it's like you become kind of a third entity that nobody really understands.
Okay, so it's like is it like a societally accepted third gender, like they have man, woman, and third gender there, or is it like a trans thing? How does it work, or is it something that you just kind of like completely you become a gender effectively?
Well, Sophie, I was gonna ask you, just because I'd initially thought of faceless as having turned my back on my old obligations, and I was going to take it. But if you're a Black Hood, are you saying that you are faceless because you are like where you?
Yeah, I thought that's what we had decided, but if we want to change that,
I like the idea of the faceless being. I think that's punk as fuck. The faceless, they're like the real 100% outsiders. I think maybe if your your character has turned their back on stuff, I don't think that necessarily they would be faceless yet. That maybe they're sort of still rebelling, but that could be something that happens within the story.
I kind of like.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I didn't want to interrupt. I was still letting. Anyway, yeah, I kind of like the idea that the faceless is like a known third gender, just because it's kind of like the water has some kind of properties that we can tattoo with, like properties from like the older generations, because we sealed it away. So like once you've like I guess tainted yourself, you've kind of become like this sort of like unknown thing. Like I'm not saying I'm gonna like be one of the old generation. Like once you put your face in the water, you like become like
people don't know how to treat you, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, cool.
Just more of an outside, really. Just
I think everyone has their stats. Honor. Your starting honor is on your individual's play sheets. That is in order to. We'll create factions for you in a sec. So each of you will have a faction, and you can spend honor to enact call on your faction. So you can call on a group that you're involved with for help. You can also use it to do a kind of a don't you know who I am kind of thing. You can spend honor to do that. That is on the honor play sheets. First time you use an honor move, you get XP. And you can get honor back. So you get honor points by doing things which further the goals of your faction.
So I was thinking about using like ambiguous gender, but now I don't know how that works with what we've established about the faceless.
No, I think ambiguous gender still works as a separate kind of like entity, because with the faceless, I kind of imagined it was like just as if there is a third gender. So if it was like male, female, faceless, it's not like, or whatever they would call themselves in the gender sense, I guess.
Yeah. And with you, people just can't tell.
Yeah. But ambiguous could be like male or female, whereas faceless is just like, what I.
Or you could be like literally masked as well, Bethany. So that's like I like the idea of like a mask for your hex, like your crazy swamp witch with a mask. That's neat.
Right. So I was thinking like because I have these slightly wrong looking tattoos, I think to most people they would just look like I just have tattoos made by a bad tattoo artist. But like someone who knows what they're looking at might know that, oh, these are not just non-standard, like they do something to you. So I try to keep them hidden. So like even though I live in a hot climate, I'm always like way overdressed and I'm wearing like long sleeves, long pants, a hat, possibly a mask or some sort of like a mosquito veil, you know, something like that. So like
Neat.
because of that,
kind of
nobody
like a
knows
veil.
what my gender is, and it's none of their business. I'm not telling them, you know.
Yeah. So it's kind of like a robes and a veil kind of a thing, but kind of like quite a. So
Yeah.
but like not in a particularly goth way, just in a kind of like a slightly ragsy kind of way. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Like I think like the reason I had these particular tattoos in the first place, like they really were just substandard tattoos because like I think I probably came from a really lower class background and just went and got the cheapest tattoo artist I could find, you know.
And
But
we did mention earlier about the that because you're not allowed to write something down, that tattoos could act as like stores of hidden knowledge. So maybe maybe your bad tattoo started there, like you were like someone wrote something on your back basically to use you as a messenger, and that then triggered your powers.
I like that. Right. So, you know what? Probably the people that would be used as like living books or living, you know, letters, they'd probably try to find like the largest people they could because more skin.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So I'm probably really big.
Okay, sweet. Like just like imposing big, or kind of like overweight big, or how does that work, or both?
I think just like big, like imposing big, but not necessarily. Well, I guess you wouldn't like it wouldn't be obvious whether I was like muscular or fat or just, you know, big.
Yeah.
So I think I'm just like normal scale, but scaled up.
Okay, so you're a gigantic person in rags and a mask. That's terrifying.
With magic. Who could eat
With
people's
magic,
hearts
yes,
and gain their powers?
with dark, cursey magic.
What could go wrong?
Awesome sauce.
Nothing.
Okay. How's everyone doing on the characters? Are we all almost done?
Yes.
I've got a lot of copy pasting to do, but
Okie cool.
Yeah.
Just because we're this kind of society, just the way I'm picturing it, I understand horse maybe is more of
I think
a
probably
role
boat
than a creature. I was actually thinking maybe like some sort of lizard, something that can stick to the side of stuff, something that go up the sides of buildings. Just
okay.
Because
Giant gecko.
topography, there's very little level. You know, there's a whole lot of climb over and under and through involved.
Yeah, I don't think an actual horse would do very well in this.
Right.
Yeah.
In this kind of
Oh my god,
situation.
I'd ride a Komodo dragon everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so it's like a larger Komodo dragon kind of thing.
Oh, what are those? What are the ones that can run across the water? You know, they go real fast. They've got the big webbed feet. They kind of go upright and go splash, splash, splash.
They can only run across. Not. I know I shouldn't be applying logic to fantasy settings, but they can only run across the water because they're really, really light.
Right.
So if you
had a heavier one,
if you had a heavier one, they'd have to run at like 300 miles an hour. So like,
Well, what I
like
was
a human
thinking
would
is-
have to run at like 70 miles an hour in order to do the same thing that lizard does.
Well, what I was thinking was perhaps
Impressive.
kind of like what you were saying. If the water is toxic, maybe these things are relatively, resistant to whatever's in the water. So it's a way to cross small portions of it without, risking yourself. You certainly can cross between islands, but, little streams, little rivers, boat-to-boat combat.
It's not as immediately cool as a big lizard, but I don't know if it fits slightly better. What if it's a big turtle? What if you have like giant
Turtles are so
turtles
cool.
that you ride on, that you go between the islands on, and it's like it's a way of stealthing in between because it's not even a boat at that point, and it's. Or is that too cute?
Turtles are the best.
I think it's terrifying, actually.
I mean, they come with golden armor.
Yeah. It can be kind of like a badass
They're
dragon.
more like
turtle.
chariots than.
You have to sit like right in the middle of their back to keep from sliding off into the water. But
Yeah.
I think that I'm okay with it, except that I'm just having trouble imagining like any of those creatures going at speed, which is what I feel like is the purpose of any sort of cavalry.
They can swim pretty fast.
Or it could be, or you could have a big fish. You could have you could ride sharks.
What if it was more gatory? You know, it's
Oh,
like
there you go.
Yeah.
you know,
Riding gators.
something
There we go.
land
Yes.
and water.
Yes,
I think that's
alligators.
the sweet spot between
Yeah.
thematic
Totally.
and badass. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So the gators.
Right, and our war gators.
Yes. Okay. Has everyone got their names? So we've got Yaseta Dirge the Spur, Ethar the Black Hood, Kanaloa the Liar, and we don't have a name for the Hex yet.
Yeah, I need a name. Hold on a sec. Find a good name.
So am I reading this right, that I'm the socially most respectable one here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, you are.
Okay.
Yeah, we created a world where tattoo artists are super socially respectable, which they should
Yeah.
be because they're
Hell
bad.
yeah.
Yes. Yeah, a good tattoo artist should be respected.
Yes.
Okay, so let me just try and find the factions worksheet.
I go with Hayes. I don't think anyone knows my last name if I have one, so let's go with Hayes.
Sweet.
I'm gonna change my name just slightly.
Mhm.
Yes, the
fine.
dirge. I feel like maybe that was something that was given to me.
Okay, cool. So like people sing a dirge when they know you're coming because they know they're gonna be losing people.
Nice.
I kind of like the idea of us singing our way into combat. Very
Oh,
Viking.
that's nice. Yes, yeah. Yeah, so you hear this dirge coming first, and you're like, fuck, gators are coming.
I like
Oh
the
man,
idea
a
that
squad of people singing on gators is just
yeah.
It's terrifying.
Okay, now we're just writing a musical. I feel like if like Band of Merry Men becomes like well known, because I've kind of taken a more stealthy route. If you like hear the dirge singing, then it's like you need to watch out because I'm probably already behind you.
Eat. Okay, so if you want
I
to
have
open
to
up the
pick a patron. It says the patron could be another PC. Sophie, I kind of like the idea with you being faceless and me turning my back on the establishment. Maybe you are my patron in some sort of manner. It kind of goes with what you were saying. If you hear the dirge coming, it's almost like you know, in whatever way we can figure out later, you know, pulled me away. But
I pick one as well. So like,
yeah.
if that's the thing, we can totally like pick each other and like work as like a switch team. Like for some reason we met before.
You can't pick each other because it needs to be kind of
an external thing.
No, you can pick NPCs, so you can pick each other, but I mean, you literally can't have each other be each other's patron.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Someone else can be your patron because it has to be like
then
a differing
the
power.
faceless can the faceless just be the patron that I am with then?
Well, that would be your faction. So let's do factions now. Actually, everyone's kind of got their characters. So if you want to open up, I think it's called faction worksheet, and you get to just quickly outline your faction, and they're the people that can help you out in certain situations. So you get to pick a kind of group, then you pick a social status, then you pick the benefits, and then you pick relationships between other factions.
Oh, dang.
The good thing about having NPC patrons is it gives me immediate NPCs to work with as well.
Yes.
But yeah, so if everyone wants to have a look at the faction sheet and see what it would work from there. So it doesn't have to be It doesn't have to be a particularly sort of like organized thing. So like clan, an ethnic group, or some other kind of demographic grouping. So it could just be like the tribe on your island, something like that. And then they could be outcasts. So they could be a reviled and marginalized group. So that there are factions kind of makes it sound. It kind of makes it sound like they're all grand, but they're not necessarily. Some of them could be, you know, kind of the downtrodden proletariat, basically.
Should we add that to the bottom of?
Yes, I did not write that on. I think if we probably create another tab for that, actually. So I will create a faction tab on the sheet now.
Ollie, I don't know if this is legit for what do you call it, for PBTA, since it's a little more descriptive, but I like the imagery of old gladiators with their very heavily sort of like armored one side but a lot of bare elsewhere.
Yeah, that sounds good.
I was thinking like I'm saying I've got mismatched armor, and I like the idea of it being sort of scale and carapace, sort of strategically placed. Nice. So could it be like 2 but 0? You know, like he knows how to use it to absorb blows, but you know, a well-called shot would just ignore it altogether because there's so much open skin.
Well, I think in that sort of. Is that for your armor? Yeah, I think.
Yeah, it says armor 1 or 2, and I don't want to take armor 2 given the society we're in, but I kind of like the idea of it being, you know, a 2 with a lot of openings. He has to be very active to get any benefit out of that 2 armor.
I think the implication with 2 armor is that you look more obviously armored and you're clumsier in certain circumstances. So would that have the same?
I see.
So, yeah, I think the downside of, or the upside of the 1 armor is you're giving me less opportunities to fuck with you.
Well, I guess
that's
the same.
Yeah, I think that kind of sounds like 1. I mean, in terms of the actually how much armor there is there, if there's like open spaces and you roll a 6, you've rolled a 6 at that point. So it doesn't matter if you have hard armor and you roll a 6, you know.
Okay.
There's probably a move somewhere that gives you innate armor or something.
Yeah.
I would assume.
What's everyone thinking for factions? Bethany, what are you thinking factions-wise? Bethany, you're muted.
Sorry, I was just saying I don't know. Can you come back to me?
I absolutely can. Has anyone got a clear idea of their factions?
I'm pretty
Sophie,
easy, right?
I think your faction is that you kind of work for the noble families. So I'm guessing Matthias.
Oh, could be, or could be an order.
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah,
special
that makes
status.
sense. Yeah, that makes sense a lot. Yeah.
But if we want more me representing that, we could also do noble.
No, I like the order. So it's the order of the markers or something like that.
Yeah, so it would be order and honored as the social status.
Yeah, that's nice. Sophie's gone for Ethar's got the outcast clique, secrecy, contraband. Yeah, I think your. So what is it? Is it like an assassin's guild, or is it like a?
I imagine it was either like we can get hired out to people sometimes, and we hunt things. So it could be like with the contraband, it could be like we steal for people, or we might like kill certain like weird fish in the water that we might not meant to touch because it's like all like contaminated and stuff, or like we may kill people. I can't tell them because there is someone of important status here.
Are you guys just in it for the money, or have you got a sort of greater societal plan?
I don't think we really care about money. Like sometimes people can't pay us in money, so we'll work for other things. I think it's more like the faceless try not to have material things, but instead try to get just more powerful in like controlling their bodies and like becoming more of a tool rather than.
Okay. So in terms of the organization, is it there to be kind of like a destabilizing agent, like an agent of chaos kind of a thing?
I think so.
Okay, cool.
Should it be a ring instead of a click then?
I think it should probably be a ring, yeah.
Okay.
That
Easy
doesn't
peasy.
make a lot of difference.
Nah.
But yes.
It helps talking about it because otherwise I was going to be like, we're just a bunch of fishermen. But it makes a lot more sense to be hunting everything else, including fish.
Yes. Okay, Matthias, you've gone for the tattoo artist. Now, I like the idea because you're tattoo artist, so that you're deeply respected in the society. But I also like that because you're so embedded in all of like the rich people, like you talk to each other and you talk amongst each other. So you're the people that knows what's going on everywhere. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I was thinking, yeah, exactly. Like honored order and taking status and knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily wealth and power, right? Maybe there are even
Yeah.
rules where you're not allowed to own land and property.
Yeah, I like that. So you have to live
restricting
on
us.
the
Yeah, exactly.
but you guys know everything. So if someone wants to know what's going on, they will come to you because you know everything, because you hear everything, because you're always there, and because no one really. You're both honored, but people don't pay attention to you. Or not that they don't pay attention to you, that they don't
Only
see
in our
would go outside.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They pay attention to us in our function.
Yes. Yeah. Cool. Okay. Who else have we got? So we got. Go back to characters. So we got Yesters and Hayes.
Quick question, just because
Yes.
I'm not good with Google Sheets. How do you make things not just go horizontally? I see people like,
If you
bringing
go
the things
into
below.
format and then you click text wrapping and you click wrap, that's how I've been doing it.
Okay.
It's the one with the arrow pointing sideways, and you find another option where it's the arrow
Yeah.
slinks around.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't know either. I was like searching for it while people were going through their characters.
Okay, Bethany, how are you feeling about your faction? Have you got anything yet?
So it's either outlaw or outcast.
Okay, yeah.
I think it almost has to be, given that I'm like visibly, kind of weird. And where did the paper go? Too many pages open.
I mean, you could also be someone where like the common folk go to you and trust in you.
Yeah.
Could also be an option.
Because didn't you say that some people couldn't always tell that your tattoos were wrong?
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, it's totally cool if you want to be an outcast or an outlaw.
So I kind of like the idea that on like one of these islands, there's this low area that's kind of like swamp, So there's the water encroaching, and that's maybe there's kind of a gang of like outlaw and outcast are a very overlapping, two very overlapping categories.
They are,
that lives there because not a whole lot of people want to go there.
Yeah.
So they kind of get left alone to work whatever crazy magic or whatever, deal contraband.
But I think maybe people occasionally come to you or bring people to you because you have that touch, the unspeakable power, so you can heal people or you can tell their fortune, stuff like that. So you're like this crazy old witch that people are terrified of, but that they come to when they need something.
Yeah, that's what I'm going for. And maybe there's like, it's not a family as in they're all related, but like there's just kind of a small, I guess it would be a ring or a clique of people who kind of live on the edge of this and all have reasons for people to come to them, but not reasons for people to stay.
Yes. Yeah. Cool.
Really.
Okay. So it's kind of like your found family.
Right.
So it's like the people who have just ended up there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's that faction. And what about Yester's function? faction.
I'm trying to figure out if I like the idea of it being the same faction as Ithar, or they're just two sort of commingled, like parallel factions.
I think you have to have your own faction, but they can certainly be friendly.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I feel like just in terms of what I wanted out of that whole story of turning my back,
Yep.
was that there's something about what the sorcerers are telling us that I've found, to be a lie, to be there solely for control of the population as opposed to any sort of truth or benefit. And I'd been, pushing along that sort of agenda, thinking it was the right thing to do, thinking I'm coming from the moral high ground, and it was not.
Yes. Okay.
And
Cool. So
so
maybe you're kind of like leading a rebellion, or maybe you're leading.
Yeah, so I was thinking secrecy and dirty work. We're doing a lot of sort of undermining, but also trying to find out what the real truth is. I like this idea of we've been given a long educational diet of here are the things the sorcerers need us to know in order to be comfortable as, the underclass.
Yeah.
And
But you've well, I think also as you're a spur, you've probably done a lot of awful things in the name of the sorcerers, and then if you find out it's a lie, you're now just a man who's done some awful things. Right.
Like it's one thing if you're justified, and to find out it's not.
Yeah,
it's sort of horrifying.
Yeah,
It kind of feels like you're starting a cult.
I kind of feel the only reason I don't want to say starting a cult is because I feel like somebody reached out to him. It ties into the whole idea of the patron. Yeah, like he left. He brings some people with him because maybe just the guys he's led. He brings with him, but they're a little directionless and floundering until somebody says, like, "Hey, there are further things to know."
Yeah. So your patron, whoever they are, has brought you in to bring some order to the group of rebels, basically.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Okay, I've got some ideas from that. Neat. Right. So now you have to answer, each of you, how your factions relate to each other. So the options are: we have a rivalry with this faction, we have an alliance with this faction, we have open conflict with this faction, or we're indifferent or unaware of this faction. So we have the Outcast Islanders, we have the Tattoo Artists, we have the Sophie. Did your group actually have a name?
I just called them the hired tool.
Okay, cool. So we got the hired tool, and then we have the rebels. So we have the people who are just there to cause chaos. We have the people who are part of the order. We have the people who've been outcast by the order, and we have the people who want to destroy the order.
Yes.
So so not every faceless is a part of that faction.
I don't think so. Like, I kind of like the idea that most are. Every member in here is faceless.
Yes, yeah, but not necessarily the other way around.
Yeah, I feel like some ones are just like, we're just like this to rebel. We just don't want a place to belong. And so they're not like trying to become tools, I guess. But yeah, we are. And we are faceless.
Because I was thinking, that was kind of the name that already stuck in my head.
That you're the faceless.
Faction.
Yeah.
The faction name, but as well.
Okay, so if you want to,
so I called the group faceless as well.
That's kind of neat.
I like that. All right. Cool.
Okay, so Bethany, how does your faction feel about the other factions?
So I feel like anyone trying to destroy the order, we're probably in favor of them.
Okay.
I don't know, depending on their level of power, and like the circles they move in, they may or may not be aware of our existence.
Yeah, I think you're probably quite cut off from the rest of the people, aren't you? I'm guessing, at least at the start of the game. So I'm
Right.
guessing you could be sort of like indifferent or unaware of most of them, and you're just trying to get by on your own little island. Does that sound good?
Right. Yeah, but given the opportunity, like, causing mayhem is usually
Yes.
right up our alley.
Cool. Matthias, how about you?
Yeah, I was thinking allied with the noble faction because that's kind of there, right? Even though no PC represents them.
Yep.
I was thinking rivalry with the faceless because we kind of vie for position and influence, right?
Yep. Yeah.
And definitely enemies with the uprising, or
Okay.
how are we going to call it?
Sweet.
And
Like
I
open
guess,
conflict.
yeah, we don't
Yeah.
know about Bethany's.
Okay. Cool. And a lot of this is implicit now, but Sophie, what about the faceless?
Yeah, can we have different relationships? Like, so one person is like, yeah, we have a rivalry with you, and the other one's like, we have
Our enemy.
we are, yeah. I'm like, you're my enemy, and the other one's like, I don't really know who you are. Like,
As long as it makes sense.
okay. I won't push that too far then. I kind of feel like the faceless don't start anything, but if someone starts something with them, then they'll go for it. So I'm happy with everybody else choosing their relationships with the faceless, and the faceless just being like, sure, that's what we have.
That's cool. Okay, cool. And the rebellion, what's their relationships with everyone?
I think that within the organization, they don't even think of themselves as a rebellion. They are not so much trying to, topple the order as much as they are trying to seek out, what has been hidden from them. They're sort of illegal. They've got a de facto illegal status as opposed to them being, active rebels. Which amounts to the same thing as far as the authorities are concerned.
So you're kind of like the rogue scholars in Rifts.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I was thinking, I was looking for some translations in other languages, and I was thinking of calling the organization the Sidonest, because Sidon and Estia mean heart and seek in
The Heart
Finnish.
Seekers. Nice.
And so I was thinking, like, to tie back to what we were talking about before, like, we've been told wrong things about why the world is the way it is.
Yeah.
And like we're maintaining the status quo because we think we have to keep the world the way it is. And it turns out there's this truth about the hearts. There's this truth about like the powers that are at the root of magic. And so they're just trying to find out what is the unfiltered, non-sorcerous, truth of the matter.
The real truth.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So
Okay.
that didn't actually answer the question of the relationships.
No, it didn't. Do you want to do those?
Sorry. Yeah, let me go to the actual faction stuff. I would say that is there sort of like an ambivalent, like let me.
Yeah, it's indifferent or unaware.
Yeah.
Okay. So relationships. I feel like we are indifferent to the tattoo artists, not because we approve of what they're doing, but they're just like a sort of an artifact of the status quo. I mean, like taking them on doesn't accomplish anything for us. We have a problem with their masters, not with them. The faceless, I might almost say unaware, just because we don't see their purpose. Like we don't realize they're trying to destabilize. Just agents of chaos.
Yeah.
We may have worked with them, but we don't understand their motives.
Yeah. Okay.
And then what are the witches? What are the hexes? Actual. I might say we might be in rivalry to them. We're not trying to destroy things. We're trying to uncover things.
Okay, cool.
Okay. Cool.
Right. So let's do character introductions, and then we'll do relationships. Then we'll take a very quick break, and then we'll come back and do an hour or so of actual role playing. Finally, although actually, I've really enjoyed all the character creation.
It's been cool.
Okay, so Bethany, do you want to introduce your character?
Yeah, sure. My character is Hayes. They're ambiguously gendered. They're very large and sort of imposing. They wear a lot more clothing than you would expect for this like hot, muggy climate. Like they cover most of their skin and usually wear like a netting over their face to keep the mosquitoes off, partly because they live in a swamp and also like just to hide their tattoos.
And I like the idea that because it is completely inappropriate, there's always like sweat patches coming through as
right,
well. So
yeah.
It's a very unctuous kind of
obvious discomfort.
Yeah, definitely. Although, not sunburn, so there's...
There you go. Positives.
Right.
Okay, and what moves did you take? What can your moves do?
My moves are... whoops, wrong thing. I have Harness the Unspeakable Power by default, and also Bend the Bone, which is you can change an NPC into an animal. I couldn't turn that in. I gotta take that one.
That's amazing. So I should have asked. Sophie and Matthias I've played with before, but the other two guys, you've played PBTA games before and know how they work and stuff like that.
Yeah, I played some Apocalypse World and Dungeon World.
Sweet.
The basics, yeah.
Sweet.
I've run some Dungeon World, but probably not correctly.
Okay, cool. Okay, so Matthias, do you want to introduce your character now?
Yeah, I'm playing Kanaloa, and he's one of the Kaukar. That's like the name I chose for it.
Cool.
I think it just means artist in Hawaiian.
So like Kaukar means artisan, but like Kaukar with a capital K means you're one of that group. You're one of the,
exactly.
the tourists.
Yeah. So he's a man with fancy clothes, a charming smile, flowing hair, and a thin body. And with like all the social graces. Not someone who would really get into a fight, probably. But we'll see. And
as a question, who tattoos the tattoo artists? Do you tattoo each other? Do you tattoo yourselves? Are you like the only untattooed people there?
That is a good question. That might even be the case that they're untattooed. Maybe they wear a branding instead. So
yeah, okay. I mean, they don't have to be. I was just
no.
But I do like the idea of everyone having tattoos as well.
Completely untattooed adult, then you're completely outside of all the social structure, I guess.
Yeah.
So we need something to delineate. Or it might be just a very simple, straightforward tattoo. Maybe just a line across.
Yeah. Okay. That's neat.
Yeah. Yeah. So
cool.
Deeply bronze skin and long flowing black hair. Cool. And I picked a song in your heart. So that's when you perform your talents before an audience, because I imagine those tattoos, like it's often as part of a big ceremony to actually apply them. Yeah. And so you have people watching them. You do this. This is done publicly. This is a social event, right? And I took Charmed, I'm sure, basically to get people to do stuff I want when I've got like some alone time with them.
Cool. Okay, okay. Sophie, do you want to introduce Ether?
Yes. Ether, a black hood, obviously, as everybody is, I'm sure, aware. You probably haven't seen me unless I want you to have seen me, and that's the case with most of the faceless. I think since everyone has quite dark skin, I'm not sure what kind of color the water would make you, but I don't think it would change you. Like, obviously it changed, maybe it's like a dark reddish kind of like earthy color instead of like a brown skin color. But I think what it does, it removes pretty much all your hair.
Oh, cool.
And I'm a little bit undecided as whether I want it to have flipped the color in my eye. So the color is the
neat.
white part and the white is the, I think that's kind of cool.
Creepy.
Yeah. So it kind of gives us a little bit more of that like outcasty feel.
It does. It does mean as you are working, or as you work occasionally as an assassin, it means that you would have to work entirely by stealth. So infiltrating would be like a matter of not being seen rather than a matter of being like hiding in plain sight.
Yeah. It's definitely not a plain sight kind of stuff, because we don't want to be seen. We don't want to be part of the society. We don't want to like interact.
Yeah.
We don't want to be seen. So I took like a shadow in the darkness. Did you want me to read out the whole move or just kind of briefly explain?
If you want to paraphrase it, yeah.
Yeah, so basically, if I'm being chased, searched, or trying to make myself scarce or unseen, which is who I am, I can basically get a position of authority, I guess, on my target. So I can like get a better position to attack them, or that's basically it. And then I also have just a spot of indigestion, which basically means I poison people. Yeah.
That's a really good move. I love that one. Okay, and let's have an introduction for Yester the Dirge. You're muted, dude.
Sorry about that. He is. Let me actually get to where I'm writing stuff down. Where am I? So, Yesta is just a large, brutal woman, although that is largely concealed. She wears a lot of armor because regulations gave them armor, and in turning their back on where they came from, most of what they have comes, from scavenging. But due to having left, if her face is gaunt to the point that, with the body concealed, you can't really get a feel, just from her face. It's very bony. She's missing an eye due to old, wounds in the line of duty.
Okay.
And in terms of just personality, she is loud with her people, but pretty quiet otherwise. Although she's more about interacting, sly is not her thing. She's not crazy perceptive. She does, tend to watch around her, and you feel it's more an issue of leeriness and of caution and, just hesitance about like being taken again than it is about true aptitude of like noticing the things around her.
Okay. Cool.
And just she and her ranks, they wear probably a lot of their armors are the cast-off scales of their gator mounts, like things that have been sewn back together as they shed. As a sort of unified image, they tend to have like large armored sleeves with like a big, what do you call it? Pauldron? No, that's a knee thing. The thing that goes on your shoulder. And it tends to be on the side from which they would lance with. Just via training, they tend to fight with big old spears, usually things that you have to use two-handed, but while you're on horseback, you can, couch it up and use it in one as a lance. They have javelins strapped across their backs, and there's just this sort of threat of violence about them. Although they are an unruly bunch, I kind of like the idea of the unruly coming more from having to deal with their unruly mounts than they themselves being unruly. And
Cool.
they're relatively loyal to her because they have all been sort of disillusioned by the lies that they've discovered about their order.
Cool. Okay. So let's do relationships. So Bethany, Hayes' relationships are one of the characters you think were useful and powerful, one of the characters I have something you own, and one of the characters you want something from me.
Let's see. I think Ether wants something from me.
Mm-hmm.
Kanaloa, let's see. Kanaloa is useful and powerful. And
No, Kanaloa
Yesta
thinks
has
you're
something
useful
I
and powerful.
Wait.
So Kanaloa thinks you're useful and powerful.
Oh, you think you're useful and powerful? In that case, maybe not. Maybe Yesta thinks I'm useful and powerful.
Cool.
And
I know
I
what
have
that is.
something that Kanaloa owns.
Ah, okay.
Specifically,
That's
I think
interesting.
it's me because of the tattoos.
Oh, okay. Okay, neat. Okay, so maybe the first tattoo was
Yeah, I think
given
so.
to you by him. Okay, that's cool.
I have one good tattoo.
Yeah, you do. One good tattoo and a bunch of really shitty ones coming off of the back of it. I love that. Yeah, neat. Okay, so Kanaloa, yours are... I tend to come and go a lot, and you miss me when I'm gone. You and I, we just get each other. And you would do anything to be with me. So someone is super into you. So I think you know the other two. And well, you know everyone, so see how they fit.
I feel
Oh, sorry. You only actually do it to two characters. So you pick two characters
yeah.
and pick and so one of the characters, Bethany, you can scrub. I kind of liked. So Bethany, you're one.
I think Yesta doesn't know who I am, so they don't think I'm useful and powerful.
Okay, cool. Makes sense.
Yeah, I think Ether, you and I, we just get each other. There's different people, but with like similar, like we understand where we're at.
I kind of like
we
that
function
because
in society and stuff.
yeah, like you tattoo people to show like their alliance, and we like burn our faces off to like we kind of have that kind of like, although we do it in different ways, we brand people to show what they belong to, and although like we might not agree with how the other works, we kind of like it's a mutual kind of respect of how the other works rather than
and because Canolo is one of the people who knows lots of stuff, and like you may have needed information from him at some point, stuff like that. Does that make sense? Because I'm guessing that the tattooists have a kind of like a because they're not allowed to own property or land or anything like that, they have kind of like a second fiddle job as information brokers, so they can have some of that stuff. So that's how they make themselves rich. So I think maybe you fed information to Ether before.
Yeah.
Does that sound good? Cool. Okay. And so what was the other one?
Have that rivalry between the factions as well, like that's social.
You do, yeah.
friction. It's interesting. So you tend to know your rivals and the ones you're competing with.
Okay, so you and I, we just get each other as you and Ether, and you would do anything to be with me.
Yeah, that's I think. Well, that's an interesting question. I think this might be for Yester.
Do you not
Okay.
only choose 2 for this one as well?
Yeah.
You only choose 2, so
I
you've
haven't-
chosen. You and I would just get each other, and you would do anything to be with me.
I see. I see.
Are you all right with that, Yester?
Yeah. I'm good.
Okay, so maybe you
Sorry,
two
I didn't
were
realize how
ex-lovers.
Yeah.
Yeah, really. Okay, so you two are like ex-lovers, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I think that maybe before the break, we were together up until the point that I turned my back on my military
yeah,
units and took
Like
men
that's
with
the
me.
one thing. That's the one thing you miss.
Yeah, and so
Okay.
just because I feel like if he knew the truth or really appreciated it, he would not stay.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So Sophie, Ethar's relationships are either. So again, pick 2. I have done something awful for you. I have you wrapped around my little finger, and I scare you just a little bit.
I like the first one and the last one.
Mhm.
I feel like I don't really have anyone wrapped around my finger. I don't think I'd make relationships like that with people.
Yeah, that makes sense.
But who knows? It's a new character. I could be that person. Who would I have done something awful to?
Awful 4.
Awful 4. Can I just pick everyone? All right. Who is aware? Who would have, like, out of your characters, you guys, who would have used the faceless to do something for them? Because, like, I feel like I can't decide that for you guys. Because it could be everyone.
I probably would have, but I think if someone else wants to jump in, they're welcome to.
I have an idea, but I don't know if your character, how awful your character would have considered it. Like,
Yeah.
if I used to be like kind of Loa's human book, maybe you helped me escape.
But I
Ooh.
don't think that's the awful thing. I think that you had to kill a bunch of people to do that.
Right,
That's the
like I
awful
think
thing.
there was some
Yeah,
sort of
it's
awful
like-
thing you did.
Yeah, I kind of like the idea that, like, I didn't think it was awful, but for you,
Right.
I basically saved
I
your life.
think it was awful.
and
Maybe.
killed
Like I
so many other
regret
people
that
just
people
for your
died
one
in the
life.
process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, that's awesome. Okay, I did something awful for you. All right.
So
And,
does Loa know that you did that? I don't think he does.
Nah, it is.
No.
No.
Okay, cool. So
Yeah.
who is scared of Ethar just a little bit?
Just a little bit.
I mean, Ethar doesn't have any relationships with Yester yet.
Like, would Yester be scared of me?
Be the same person, just because thematically, from what you've said, I kind of think it would be interesting if, she was afraid of you because of what she watched you do to get her free.
That would make a ton of sense. If
I
that
think
was...
you certainly can be. I think it's probably better if it's also someone else, so that you have more of an interweb. So you have a interweaving web of relationships. Because you two don't know each other at all yet, I think, do you?
Yeah.
But then we've got Yester's relationships.
Yeah. What if, like...
If Yester doesn't want to take it, I would take it, because I'd be like, well, if I know what, like, if I get you, then I know
Yeah.
I
You know
should
what-
be
you know what you do,
afraid
yeah.
of you. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can't put more than one person on a relationship thing, I guess.
Well, let's have a look at Yester's relationships. So Yester's relationships are: you've shown me mercy when it was deserved. Oh no, sorry, you've seen me show mercy when it was deserved. You've dreamt of riding with my militia, or you've seen me bully someone weaker than me.
I think that. Sorry, I need to get to where I can actually see names. I think Kanaloa has seen me show mercy when it was deserved, just because he had been with me for so much of my career before I left. And maybe seeing me show mercy, the situation warranted it, but my orders did not. So it was the first time, or maybe not the first time, somebody saw me break with what I was expected to do in the name of what seemed right. And then...
Yeah, I kind of know that you're actually a decent gal.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, sort of. Maybe decent's not the right
Like
word considering what she's
an honor to
done.
you.
But high-minded maybe. Who knows? But yeah, and I think that also makes maybe that the relationship being over. We have ties despite being on the opposite sides of things.
Yeah.
And then
Okay, so has someone dreamt with riding with your militia, or has someone seen you bully someone weaker than you?
let's see. Where I don't see the relationships.
It
I
is
feel
on
like
page 19.
Hayes. Yeah. No, I'm sorry. No, I don't mean on the character sheets. I was looking on the
Sorry. Yeah.
the sheet of characters. I was thinking maybe. Maybe Ethar has seen me. Is it Ether or Ethar? Or I'm saying it wrong both times.
No, Ether.
Ethar.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm thinking maybe
Everyone
you've
pretty
seen
much
me
says it right.
bully someone weaker than me. Just.
Cool.
That's probably sneaking
Okey
around.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I don't necessarily realize you know that about me.
Yeah, I like the idea that I
Okay.
haven't seen you do that, and you don't know me. Wow, I like the idea that
you've
you
seen
don't know
her
that
do
I
it.
saw. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. Good English.
Okay, that is character introduction. So that's character generation done. Let's take another 5-minute break.
Just super quickly, I didn't select my second relationship.
Oh, sorry, no, we didn't. We went to Yester's to see if it made Jules make any more sense. Okay, so what is your second relationship going to be, Sophie?
So were we going with Canola? I have to stop myself from saying canola every time I see your name. Being a little bit scared of me, or was it Yester?
I like Canola being a little bit scared of you. I think that complicates your relationship nicely.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
All right, sweet.
Because he knows what you are. Yeah. Okay, so we will take a 5-minute break, and those of you that have patrons, I think some of you can have. I think the Gauntlet can have, but doesn't have to. I think the same with the Black Hood. I think the Liar definitely does have a patron, and I don't think the Hex does. So if you want to come up with a name for your patron and a little sort of like one-line character description, and then when we get back, we will do some role playing. In terms of dice, I trust you to just roll dice, so there's no need to have a all on screen at the same time thing. Roll actual dice if you want, or just use 2d6 and Google, whatever suits you. Back in 5 minutes.
Cool. See you then.
Is Yester getting a patron? You're muted, dude.
I definitely wanted to, just because I like that idea of somebody pulling me out of the military. I just hadn't. I'm still copying stuff on the character sheet, so I haven't
That's cool.
thought it all the way through. Is that also on that same sheet as the factions? Or you just narratively and make
just write it down there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, write it down somewhere.
I put it under relationships as well, my patron.
Okay.
Who's your patron?
It's
Who's the
Hakueha, and he's my lord and patron. So
and is he a sorcerer?
Yeah, that's the question. Is he a sorcerer, or is he the secularly appointed
I think
lord
probably
of the
the
region?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think he's maybe like one of the like a noble.
It's like the governor of this town or something like that, right?
Yeah. That's
Actually,
cool.
I was gonna suggest, Matthias, I don't know if you want to go in this direction. I kind of like the idea of the nobles sort of bickering amongst themselves, and so maybe, the tattoo artists being not beholden to them, but being more a tool of the sorcerers to keep the nobility in line, kind of aimed at each other instead of aimed up the food chain.
Well, the thing is, right, if we don't have the right to own property, then we need somewhere to live. We might still have riches and wealth. If we're good at maneuvering and intrigue and stuff like that. But if we don't legally can own, well, I own this piece of land, or I think that's what restricts us in power. Otherwise, we would probably quickly overtake the nobility and replace the nobility. But we're also keeping the nobility in check with this balance of power, like checks and balances underneath the sorcerers, right? That's going on here.
Yeah. Okay, so our basic moves in this are, let me go to them. So you've got face duress, which is the general act under pressure kind of move. It's the one that allows you to come off well in bad situations. You've got threaten with force, which does what it says on the tin. It's when you get someone to do something you want by threatening them. You've got engage in combat for when you're actually trying to hurt someone. You've got persuade with leverage when you have something over somebody and you're trying to convince them to do what you want. You've got study a situation, which allows you to ask questions about the situation you're in. Study a person, which allows you to ask questions about the people that you're dealing with, be they PCs or NPCs. And you've got whisper into the unspeakable power, which allows you to get visions from the unspeakable power itself. And we've sort of said that the unspeakable power is the it's kind of it's a blood magic thing, isn't it? And it's emulating that first theft of power that the sorcerers did from the Glycen when they stole their hearts, and you do a smaller version of that by stealing the heart or the blood of other creatures. Cool. Okay. We have to do highlighted stats. So,
also, just super quickly, would it be okay if my patron changed, or is that not a thing that can happen?
Literally, people who are paying you to do jobs can happen in the fiction, but your patron who you can call upon to do stuff has to be one person until it makes it can happen in the fiction, but it would have to make sense.
Okay.
There were rules to get 2 patrons and stuff like that later on.
I see. Yeah, because I just figured my patron would be someone who pays me to do things for them, and that's pretty much it. Literally, as it says on the thing. I don't think I need to know who they are or what they are.
Okay, so you currently have a secret patron who talks with you via Dropboxes and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Their drops? Okay.
Occasionally I'll just get messages from them. They want me to do stuff.
Yeah. Although, of course, it wouldn't be able to be written down, would it? So it would be sent as a poorly scrawled tattoo on someone's arm.
Yeah, they just send me people. Do I have to kill them after they come to me?
Maybe they send you bits of people.
I think you probably cut off the tattoo after they.
I probably have to cut off the tattoo after
That's
this.
so fucking dark. Okay.
The person is poisoned. You know, the message will self-destruct after 15 seconds.
Highlighted stats.
You could just like throw them in the water.
Exactly. Yeah,
And
but
the
the water's
tattoos
sacred. I think the water's sacred to me. I think I wouldn't scar someone else with the water unless I was like, "You will be a faceless."
Right.
I'll just cut off their skin.
Okay, so Matthias and
So dark.
hang on. So the starting character name thing. So Kanaloa and Yesita, do you want to do Haze's highlighted stats? So pick one each, and that is how she gets XP, or they get XP because their gender is concealed. If Haze and Ether want to do it for Kanaloa, if Kanaloa and Yester want to do it for Ether, and if Ether and Haze want to do it for Yester. Hopefully that should work out. Everyone has two.
How do you want us to mark them?
Just if you highlight it on the sheet, so maybe make it a different color or put it in italics or something like that.
Oh, the background, maybe.
Yeah, background would be a good one.
I'm sorry, I was reading. Who did you ask me to do?
So if you do, if you do one for Haze and one for Ether.
Okay. And I've only read Apocalypse World. I haven't actually played it. So this is highlighting what we want them to do.
It's what you want to see them do in the game. Yes. So the first time that they roll that stat in a scene, they get XP. When is everyone good to, by the way? Because we're only scheduled for another 20 minutes or so, but I'm happy to go a little bit longer than that, but I can't go too much longer than that because it's almost midnight here and I have to be up with my son tomorrow.
I'm good.
I'm good, but it's only 6 p.m. here, so.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, same.
And super early in the morning for you, Sophie, but I didn't know if you had anywhere to be later this morning.
Yeah, no, it's a weekend, so I'm just like, psh,
cool. Okay,
it's
so
my sleeping day.
that's cool. So we're good for a little bit, but I don't imagine we'll go super late, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Okay. I'm
Okay.
highlighting who again? Kanaloa and Yesta?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I have Haze and...
You have Haze and Ether. This is entirely just from the order that you come up on my screen.
Yeah.
It seems like I'm doing it completely arbitrarily to you guys.
I'm sorry. How do you highlight? You select a box and then do what?
Oh, we just
I'm
changed the
just on
color.
the background.
Change the color. So that is the A with the black line underneath it. You can select a different color there.
Oh, you know what? I have my window shrunk, so I just didn't see the A. Got it. Okay.
And I get to pick entanglements for you as well. Entanglements are something that if you do them in the game, you get XP because they are stupid things for you to do. So, Ether, yours.
I also. Oh, I was just gonna say something completely unrelated, but I drew my character really quickly while we were doing relationships.
Oh, cool, let's see.
But I accidentally gave them eyebrows, so I just
So we
thought
can
I'd
imagine
show
you without
everyone.
eyebrows.
Yeah.
Cool.
Nice.
That's neat.
Nice.
We did it in 5 minutes. It's pretty good. Cool.
That's how you can forgive the scribble. But yes.
So, Ether, yours is steal something valuable or important from someone powerful.
Yes. Okay.
Is Haze. It's going to be grow your infamy through a public display of your frightening power. Kanaloa, it's going to be charm someone powerful to gain useful information. And Yester's is going to be threaten someone powerful with a fight without considering the consequences.
Nice.
Okay. So, Ether, where does Ether live? Where would they be right now?
I kind of imagine if we live in like these like lands that are very textured. I probably live in some sort of cave. Like
yeah.
I don't
Cool.
really
Yeah.
have like one home, but I'll just find like a little hole that I can sleep in sometimes.
Okay. Does anyone know where it is, or do you stay there with the rest of the faceless, or
It's
the faceless more
probably
difficult?
around close where Hayes lives, just because you talked about there being like a kind of like a wetlands area down the bottom, and since we kind of like hunt around that area and also do work in the city, that's kind of close to where it would be.
So you're like between the swamp and the city.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
Between the gutter and the stars.
Yeah.
Okay, so you are. Are you sleeping at the minute? Do you meditate? How does it work?
I think I would probably just be lying there, like with my eyes open, probably still asleep, but like I think I sleep with my eyes open. Maybe I don't have eyelids. And yeah, no one knows if I'm asleep or awake, but I'm asleep.
Okay, cool. But you do sleep very lightly.
Yes.
I'm going to remind everyone that the X card is on the table because I'm going to do something super dark.
Yes.
And you sleep very lightly, and you can feel you're still sleeping, but you can feel it coming on that there's a singing coming from further down the corridor, and that light is coming into the corridor, and your eyes snap open. What do you do?
I will immediately find like a block if there is some kind of like rock poking out or something that I can hide behind, so when the light comes through, I'll be in the darkest place.
Okay, cool. Yep. Okay, so you make your way around, and this light comes through, and there is singing. There is this high pitched. It's a child singing. You can hear as they're coming down the corridor, and you can see the kind of the shifting shapes of the light as the burning brand that they're carrying comes through, and they just kind of stand in the middle of your cave with this burning torch. Yeah. It's a young girl. She's about 10, I think, and she's standing there with the torch, that's kind of flicking all around, and she's singing your name, Ethar of the Faceless. We call you forward, but she's singing it in a sort of like an indigenous language that isn't the sort of the main language. What do you do?
But enough that I recognize it.
Yeah, you speak it, but it's not like the common speech.
Yeah, I think I'm being searched, so I'm going to roll my like a shadow in the darkness move. So I can try and get some leverage here because I have no idea what's going on, and I feel like I could steal something valuable or important right now. Dice. So I need to roll steady. Okay. 2d6. And it's +2. Okay, I got a 7.
Okay, what do you
on
get
a 7 to 9? Choose 1. Okay. I think I stumble across something. No, I think I want to be in striking distance of this child.
Striking distance to the child. Okay.
Yes. So those looking for you position themselves within striking distance. Okay,
cool. So she's standing there. She's standing kind of away from you, and you swoop up, kind of as the shadows from the burning brand are kind of flickering and shifting around the cave this way and that, and making, you've got the stalagmites and stalactites that are causing all sort of shapes to go across the cave, and you're always just in one of those shadows, basically, sort of like kind of parkouring your way up, and then you kind of land directly behind her.
Yep.
And she says, I come with a message, and holds aloft her arm, and her arm is covered in a fresh, very bloody tattoo. And it's been scarred on it's been scarred on quickly, but with skill. This is not some like back alley guy that's done this. This is someone who knows what they're doing.
Yeah. All right.
What do you do?
Yeah, I'll take my mission.
Okay.
Be prepared. I am fully okay to be X-carded, everybody. I am going to peel the skin off this girl's arm.
I'm fine with that. That is,
Okay.
yeah, it's really horrible, and
Yep. But it's what I do.
you can hear her choking back tears, but you can also see from her arm and her back, and that this is not the first time this has happened. This is
She
just
is a messenger child.
yeah, she is a messenger.
Yep.
And we'll sort of like cut away as you can kind of hear kind of the choking back of the tears turn into an actual scream as we go a little bit further out. Okay, Hayes, do you live in like a hut in the swamp area? What does it look like?
Yeah, I live in a hut on stilts because sometimes it floods, and I want to be well out of the water.
Okay.
Yeah.
What does your hut look like inside? What have you got there?
I think it's just one room, but like with different almost like stations, around against each wall. Like I have like a hammock, in one corner, and then kind of a little iron stove and a stovepipe going out against the other corner, and then like a workbench with various magical implements and substances like on shelves and hanging up from the ceiling over it. And you probably don't want to look too closely at some of them because they're probably like deer hearts and alligator toes, things like that.
Yeah. Okay, neat. And what sort of thing would people come to you seeking?
I think a lot of times people are looking for ways to find like missing relatives or maybe like love potions that may or may not actually work.
Okay, cool. So there's a you've got a little bell outside your door, and the bell rings to alert you that there's someone there. Have you got like a bodyguard outside or anyone who kind of like stops people from just waltzing in?
No, but I have a familiar. It's just a little lizard, but it works like I leave him outside so he can see anyone who's coming, and I can see through its eyes.
You can see its eyes. Okay, cool. So you can see there is this skinny-looking guy. He doesn't look like he belongs here at all. He looks like a member of the nobility. You can see he's got really nice half-face tattoo, and you recognize the source of the tattoo. You recognize that as the work of Kanaloa, because it is very similar to. Sorry, I'm just gonna. Okay, they're just gone. Okay, so you recognize that as very similar to the one decent piece of tattooing that you have right on your back. And he comes in. He's looking kind of. He looks kind of. He looks shady, but everyone who comes to your hut looks shady because they all want something that they can't just get for themselves. And he kind of rings a little bell and kind of pushes the door open. Madam Hayes, Madam Hayes, may I enter?
Yeah. Be quick about it. What do you want?
They said over on the mainland that you can find things that have been lost. Is that true? Do you speak to the hearts?
Sometimes I can. Do you have anything belonging to the person you're searching for?
Yes, I do. And he brings forward a little. It's like a little ragdoll.
Okay.
This belongs to my daughter. My daughter has been taken from me. Please, you have to find her. What do you do?
Yeah. Okay. I think this is probably a pretty common, request. So I probably have some sort of ritual involving probably involves soaking this thing or dipping this thing in some of the water, which I have in a bucket in the corner. You wouldn't ever want to drink it, but it's useful for other things. And
what do you do with that after you've soaked it in there? That's cool.
So I have a little basin on top of my stove, and I pour the water into, or I wring it out, the doll, like squeeze it over the basin, and I watch the steam come up.
Oh, okay, cool.
And the steam, I can see like what direction to go in.
Okay, I think we are whispering into the unspeakable power here. So if you want to roll Arcane and tell me what you get.
I guess I forgot to open that. Okay. Two, 6, 9. How do I do that? There it is. And it's 8.
That's an 8. Okay, so you receive a brief vision, but it's going to be vague, frightening, or confusing. Okay. So the shapes start coming out of the steam that you've created. And you get a vision, but it is not a vision of this man's daughter, which you'd been expecting. It is you see the shapes kind of form up into the shape that you recognize as the island that you're living on.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see bits of smoke kind of wisping in from the window, and they kind of join to become part of it and take the shape of people swooping in on the island. And you hear a whisper in your ear, which is, "They're coming. They're going to come for you. The knowledge will not be hidden." And you realize that this guy is here for something entirely fucking different.
Right.
Okay, Kanaloa. Is it Kanaloa?
Yes.
Okay, Kanaloa.
Yep.
Where do you go to meet people when you don't want to be seen?
Oh, when I don't want to be seen.
When you don't want to be seen, when you want to do something shady. So when you are when you're doing your kind of information brokering kind of end of things, where would you go?
I go to it's actually usually at the end of the day or at the end of market.
Yeah, so it's nighttime now, so it's about sort of like, I'm guessing it's about sort of like 11 o'clock, but it's summer, so
Yeah.
it's A, extra hot, and B, the sort of the glowing sun is still sort of like there's like remnants of it left.
I think they're the cliffs overlooking the bay, but they're facing away from the rest of town.
Okay, yeah, cool.
And you can clamber down there and meet up with people.
Oh, so you actually kind of sort of like clambering down onto a little beach. Okay. Yeah. If this is something that's happened, lots of times. This is like a hidden stairway that you can go down. It's not safe to go down because it's hidden.
If you would want to bring people in and out of like the main manor or whatever, this is the way to go, right? Without other people seeing. So it's also good for meeting people.
Yeah, you're a graceful kind of a guy, and you just kind of like trip down these steps as if it ain't no thing. And you can see coming along the beach, or not coming along the beach, coming through the water towards this little shingle beach. There are several men and women riding gators, one of whom is Yesti. Is it Yesta?
Yesta.
One of whom you recognize as Yesta, because Yesta is here seeking something from you. Yesta, what do you look like as you pull in?
I think that I've got the whole posse just because, I don't ask for anything unless I can ask, with authority. So probably looking a little windblown and harassed only because the clothing is all in disarray, like we are in hurry. Just the the light garb that you wear underneath armor to prevent chafing. I Since he knows who I am, I'm not particularly concerned about concealing that. But it's not like I walk around always advertising that. So
okay, cool. Do the rest of your crew, do they hang back in the water once you go up and talk? How does that work?
I feel that we are all relatively equal. I am more of a de facto leader since I was the first who heard. I actually think this might be less my unit and more, a group of other lieutenants or captains who all left with me and now we fight together. So I think they've kind of gone about their own separate things, so they're making do. They're stopping here on their own agendas to do that favor for me while I ask to him.
Cool. Okay, and this is the first time that you've seen each other since you left the army and since you broke off your relationship. So how do you greet each other? Because you were previously lovers.
I think I have a lot of false bravado, so I sort of swagger up as if nothing is wrong. He can tell from knowing me that, that is obviously not what I'm feeling. It's sort of written all over my face that I am incredibly uncomfortable. But,
You have some nerve bringing all of them here. And I'm like...
I don't bring them.
You put the word out that you wanted to speak to Yester, but you only wanted to speak to Yester, and then suddenly, you're expecting this to be subtle. You're a man of subtlety, and then suddenly you've got 10 fucking guys on gaiters there who are just looking like they're about to invade the Royal Island.
Exactly.
What do you do? I shrug and say, "Well, I heard that you needed me. I came."
Yeah,
we're a group. I did not bring them with me. Rather, they came with me. We are moving on, unless you need much more of my time than I thought.
Yeah, like always. Not taking fucking responsibility.
Let's start now. I think that all I've done is taken responsibility. Otherwise, I would still be there. But, no need to continue.
What you've done is run, right? And I start looking around because I really don't want anyone to get to see the scene, right?
Okay, so that sounds like you are going to be studying a situation.
Yeah.
I was going to say, if he feels like that, he's doing what he's doing, but say it's all right. They don't need to be right here. I'm sure they've got things, and I just sort of turn my back on him and snap a little bit just to get their attention. Say, guys, disperse a bit. A little privacy, right? And, with that, just sort of turn back to him, assuming that they're going to do it. I do have a move that kind of goes with that. I don't know if that's necessary for now.
I don't think that's necessary. That's if you want them to do something that they don't want to do.
Yeah.
Okay, so Kanaloa, you were studying a situation, I think. Are you studying a situation or are you studying a person?
No, the situation. I'm looking around if there's someone watching or back up the cliff.
And actually, Yester, I think you are possibly going to be studying Kanaloa because he's called you here and you don't know why. Kanaloa, I will tell you why it is. It's because, do you remember that you had something important stolen from you? You had your human book was stolen from you. You've been given some information from another of your the people in another house as to where that person is. So you know where Hayes is now, and you've brought Yester here with the intention of getting Hayes back. And the thing that she might be interested in, but up to you whether you tell her this or not, is that one of the things that's written on there is some information that the myth that the sorcerers feed you isn't necessarily. There's an element of the true myth on there. That's the one tattoo that you put on Hayes' back.
Okay. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So do you want to roll?
Yeah, I'm rolling for read the situation. Yeah, nice. That's an 11.
11. Okay, so you get to ask 3 questions. I can tell you offhand what would be a useful opportunity for you, which is that you can definitely get Yester to act if you tell her about the tattoo on Hayes' back. That would be the way to get her to act.
Yeah, that's probably my best way in.
Yep.
Right? That's one question. Then I'm looking around, so I'm asking what am I missing?
What are you missing? Okay, cool. So you're looking around because you weren't sure. You weren't expecting all these guys to ride up on their gators all at once. You were expecting just Yester. So you're kind of looking to make sure that you're not being ambushed anywhere. And you see that there is someone watching you from the top of the cliffs. And as soon as you spot them, they just kind of off into the darkness.
Yeah, and I grind my teeth, and I'm like,
so this has been observed.
Yeah.
Oh, come on now. It can't be that bad. They're backing off. What's the matter now? I can recognize that look, and that's probably my study person as I'm looking in on him.
Yeah, do you want to roll your study person?
Feel free to do what you'd like, because I rolled a 3 and I have no ads.
You rolled a 3. Okay, sweet.
Yeah. It does say I get to ask one question, so I'll probably ask, what is he leaving out?
What's he leaving out? Okay, so as he's talking, he's leaving out... Okay, so if we can say that you maybe mentioned some of the stuff that you wanted him to go and get Hayes, and you can tell that he's leaving out why he wants you to go and get Hayes. Does that sound cool, Matthias?
Yeah. So I'm like, I need you to get someone from me on the far side, and I name the island. There's a person. Everyone should know who it is there. A person who can get you things.
Okay.
Who can find you things.
Because of that 3, what we're going to have is you suddenly hear a lot of noise coming from the top of the cliffs, and you can hear people kind of rushing forward, and you can hear, "You down there, stay where you are," and you can hear, and you look up and you see lots of royal guards with their bows drawn. At which point we will go back to Hayes and Ether. Yep. So Hayes, what are you doing? You're in this room. You're in a room with a guy who is lying to you right now. And people who are lying to people who can read minds, generally not sensible people.
Right. Yes.
What do you do?
So I pick up that basin of water in my hands, like holding onto the rim, and I turn around and face him, and I say, "You have to the count of 3 to tell me the truth, or I'm going to turn you into a rat."
I think you are threatening with force.
Yes, I am.
Okay. Remember to keep an eye on your own highlighted stats, by the way, because...
right, yeah, I forgot it. Where my highlights? Okay. What stat is threatening with force?
That's fierce.
Fierce. Okay, of course it is. Which is, I think, a -1 for me. Yeah.
You did roll 1 arcane before already, though. That was also highlight.
Oh,
yes, you did. Yeah.
That's a 9.
You're a 9. Okay.
Yeah.
So with threatening with force, you were slightly unconvincing, or they were unpersuaded. So your target will choose one: freeze and fear, surprise, or confusion. Try to strike a bargain with you. Start looking for a way out if they can. Trying to put something between you. Okay. You can see when you turn back that he's got a dagger in his hand. And was actually creeping up on you as you turned around. Basically, he was going to try and get you as you were distracted.
Right.
And he kind of looks at you and smiles and says, "You're not going to do anything of the sort. I know what you are. You're a seer, and more than that, You're just so much paper for the Sorcerer Kings. Turn me into a rat. You can't do shit. And he's going to come at you. What do you do?
I have this basin of hot water. I pretty much it is magical hot water, even better. So I'm going to throw it on him, and I'm going to turn him into a rat.
Okay. I think you're facing duress first of all to throw the hot water at him before he gets there. So if you want to roll steady. Tell me what you get.
5.
You got a 5. Okay, cool. Right. So you try and throw the basin of water. And this guy just quickly sidesteps it, and he's more than you were expecting. He's clearly trained to do this, and he is at you with a knife at your throat. We're leaving now, he says. Ether, at this point, you are arriving at Hayes' Island because there are people who are coming to kidnap Hayes, and you have been sent to also kidnap Hayes, but for a competitor. You're not there to kidnap her. You're not there to kidnap her. You are there to make sure that she is not kidnapped by these people, but also bring her elsewhere. It's kind of it's still kidnapping. Don't tell anyone.
No, it's friendly. It's okay.
Yeah.
I saved her once. I'll save her again.
You're there to rescue her, basically.
Yeah,
and it is. And you.
I'm here to rescue her from her lifestyle.
Yes, and it is the same person who sent you to rescue her originally that has you recognize from the tattooing style that has sent you to do this. Okay. So, how do you get there? How do you travel in between the islands?
I imagine. I don't think I'm super creepy. I don't think my character's super creepy. So I probably just like stay in the shadows, like run on the rooftops like Aladdin, like just like pretty much find the back route and just get there. Like nobody really knows how I get there, but I just do.
You just do. Okay, cool. So you are sort of jumping from tree to tree, from rooftop to rooftop, kind of scuttling along the bottom of the wooden bridges and stuff of this island.
Yeah, I imagine the ways that I move is not dissimilar to like a cockroach or a rat. Like,
that's neat.
I scuttle.
That's neat. Yeah.
Yeah.
And as you're getting nearer and nearer, you can see that the island that Hayes is on has been invaded is too strong a word because it's a small force, but there is a small armed force which has kind of taken control of the island, and there is a man who has gone into, and you see this guy, the guy that we previously saw talking about his daughter, go into Hayes's thing and ring on the bell. What do you do?
So with the unspeakable power move, can I like use it to try and see what's going on inside her little hut thing? Their little hut thing, sorry.
Yeah, when you ask a question or seek guidance from the supernatural world plus arcane, so yes, you can. You would have to tell me what that looks like, because I imagine that will look different from you than it would look for Hayes. How's that going to go?
So I think that I also use... No, not really. I don't write anything down, but I have like a book of skin that I've taken off people of like all my previous missions. So I imagine it would look like I kind of just like sit there, put my hand on what I'm working on.
So technically you're not breaking the law.
Exactly. Yes. I don't break the law. I just take advantage of other people breaking the law for me. But I do skin people, so take it as you will. And I just put it on, and it kind of feels like it's almost like Braille. But it kind of like talks to me through like the vibrations, I guess, if that's a thing that can happen. So it's kind of like hearing a faint voice, but it's like reading the faint voice.
Yes, so you always know the right bit of skin stroke across at the time, and it will tell you the story. So when you stroke across it, it tells you in kind of like third person past tense what is happening.
Yeah.
Okay, so roll me plus arcane.
Yep. Thank you to whoever picked arcane for me. Oh man, I got an 8. So what does that mean?
Got an 8. That means that you get a vision, but Okay, the
Yeah, okay,
unspeakable
don't have
power learns
minus
something from you that you might not know. The vision's vague, frightening, or confusing, or the unspeakable power whispers a threat back to you.
Ooh, fight me.
Okay, so you're streaking along this paper, and you can see, not paper, along the skin, and you know that the different bumps and scars in it mean this little mole here, and this little coarse hairs that are left mean the man came into the room. The man lied to the witch. The witch looked away, and the man advanced. The witch threatened him. The man did not care. The witch needs you.
Yeah.
And then you're expecting that to be the end of it, but it keeps going.
Oh,
it says,
okay.
The witch needs you, and we see you. We see you wherever you go. Faceless you are, but not from us. We know you. We know where you are.
Oh, no.
What are you doing?
Well, I will. I don't think I immediately react, because like we've been kind of trained to not take threats like that. But I think something about it feels like it was truthful, and so I kind of it's like sets me back a bit. But I know that I have a mission, and the mission comes first.
Everything you get from doing this is true, so you know that someone sees you.
Yeah, so it's especially for like the faceless to be like watched, it feels extremely uncomfortable. But I've got to keep going and get this person out of their hut and save them, and then I can probably talk to an elder of some sort to help me not be seen.
How are you doing this? What do you do?
Since I know that they are in some sort of combat, I will go through a window probably to try and like get a vague sense of what's happening, and then strike.
Okay, what does the window look like here? Because I'm assuming it's not. I'm assuming it's not glass. So I'm guessing it's kind of like.
Oh no, I reckon it's just open
frames. Oh, just like open. Okay, cool. With maybe some curtains or something. Okay.
Yeah.
What inside, Hayes? What are you doing?
This guy has a dagger.
Yes, you're struggling on the floor at the minute. He's got a dagger to your throat.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to get away from him, trying to hold the dagger away from me.
Okay, I think you are. I think you're going to be facing Dress again, unless you want to do that. So you had that power to turn someone into a rat, didn't you?
Yeah.
How does that work?
Oh, that's right. I didn't roll that last time. I rolled. I think it's gotta involve the water as well.
Okay, so the water's on him, so
right.
so like some of it's built on him. So you could be trying to like
right.
I think on him in the right way.
Yeah, that works. Yeah, so I try to reach up and like, kind of make a marking on his face, like lengthwise like that.
Okay, so you're doing that while he's trying to cut you, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. And like hold the dagger away from me with the other hand.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, roll me. Roll
arcane. Where's my roller? There it is. Nine.
You have 9. Okay, what does that do on a 9?
I have it here. That is not it. A sec. Can only see one cell at a time here. Okay. On a 9, you choose one. The transformation is partial. The transformation lasts shorter than usual, just a minute or two. Or the intended form doesn't come out quite right. They may be a different creature than you intended, for example.
Okay, cool. Do you get to choose that, or do I?
You do.
Oh,
yes.
Okay, so you are you're doing all of this. Like you're trying to draw it on his face, but he's trying to stab at you at the same time.
Yeah.
And it's not. So your finger kind of slips, and you feel him kind of like jerk backwards, and he's like, you see this kind of look of shit in his eyes as you can feel his body kind of start to convulse and stuff like that, and he's starting to convulse, except for He's not getting smaller like you would expect him to. You can definitely see like fur coming out and stuff like that. But he is falling backwards, and he's turning into a wolf.
Oh shit!
At which point, Ethar comes through the window. You see her on the floor with a cauldron of spilt black oil, and you see basically the transformation scene from An American Werewolf in London happening on the floor. At this point, we will cut back to Yester and Loa. So you're on the beach. You've been spotted, and you are you've not only been spotted. They're attempting to arrest you. What are you both doing?
So I still have one question open, I think.
Yep. Yes, you do.
And it's who's actually pulling the strings here, right? If there are guards, they have been obviously ready. I have some assumption who it might be, who's actually behind this. But I also at the same time want to lean in and say, last chance to leave. And if you want to see me again, bring me. Maybe do I know the name? Bring me Hayes.
Hayes. Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
Well, no, actually, because I'm assuming Hayes isn't her. That's the name she's chosen, I'm guessing.
Yeah, or bring me. Maybe I say bring them to me. Bring me the witch or something like that. And
yeah, that sounds cool. Okay.
All those lines. I do want to persuade you to go and leave and not get arrested here.
What leverage are you using to try? Because I think you're persuading yesterday.
That she gets to see me again.
Oh, okay. So you're flirting with her, basically.
Yeah, like.
Okay, I think that's enough leverage. I think if we actually put a kiss in there or something, I think that would work better.
Yeah, I definitely lean in, so it's a close to her ear.
Okay.
And
cool. Roll.
My lips and my hair brushing her face. Yeah.
Nice. Roll me a wily. And you also asked who's really in control here, and you said you had an idea. Do you want to tell me what that idea is?
Who's pulling the strings, right? I probably have someone who's either envious or who I am a thorn in their side. Maybe it's the my lord's son.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you recognize these as people.
Yeah.
Yeah, you recognise the guards who are up there, so you've got excellent vision, and you recognise them as some of the sort of like the personal guard of your lord's son.
Yeah.
Okay, roll me that wily to see if you can get Yester to go along with what you said.
Okay. That's 6 + 2 is an 8.
That's an 8. Okay, cool. So you get to choose one from the list below. So you can either choose that Yester, if they do what you want, gets an XP, or if they refuse, then they must make a refuse an obligation duty or debt roll, which is on the honor sheet. And I will try and find that. I think basically you lose honor if you don't do it. So which are you going to choose?
I'm actually picking the second one, that if you don't do this, you have to roll refuse an obligation duty or debt.
Okay, cool. Yester, how does this make you feel?
I think my eyes sort of narrow because it's an obvious manipulation. And I think that's been sort of like a hallmark of our relationship, is constantly him sort of pushing like, I have this thing and therefore you should do it. So my eyes sort of go sidelong to him, and I say, you know I can deal with the likes of them, but why do you really want me to leave? But even as I'm saying that, like, my body is already taking like a step or two toward the water.
There are people with arrows up there. Okay, so I think if you're just going to kind of say that, but you are heading that way.
Yeah, I mean, like, I had a thought, but I think it's a little bit more just because of how he dealt with it. I'll go.
Okay. Okay.
You know.
But I think that's going to get complicated later. Okay.
Yeah.
You hear from the top of the cliffs, they're running! Shoot! Fire! And a bunch of arrows start coming down towards you. So I am going to have to ask you, well, what do you do?
I think that as I see that, you know, like I'd wanted to sort of lure them in closer, but you know, my opportunity for that has already kind of passed, and so I just sort of shake my head at him and just, you know, sort of point and say, "I'll talk to you about this later." And as I like jump up onto Thrum, who's my lizard, and I'm sure that the others have already realized something's happening, and so they're scattering in all directions.
Well, I am fine with you if you want to, because you said about challenging those guys. If you want to do something retroactive with your guys, that you kind
okay.
of
Well, actually, what as opposed to them hiding, I wanted to sort of. It says that I have like a barter's worth of stuff.
Mhm.
So I wanted to sort of like raise my hand with like some sort of shiny bit of the past held between two fingers, the kind of thing that, you know, would be worth something to somebody, and say, "Hey, I'm here." And as they come closer to take me in, then, you know, whirl for the guys to sort of jump on them, create some chaos under which we can flee.
Nice. Okay, yeah, that's cool.
So I want to do what he's saying, but I wanted to bring them in closer so that they're just not up on the, you know, the hillside raining down arrows on us.
Actually cause some mayhem.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So we will say then that they got a little bit closer. So they were sort of like making their way down that stairwell before.
Basically such that we could throw our javelins back, not just be completely uncontested, you know, make them have to duck for cover so we can run.
I think you are rolling at that point your spur move.
Okie doke.
Leader of the pack.
Oh, I'm sorry. Say that again.
I think you're rolling leader of the pack at this point to get command your troops.
Oh, whoops! I did not copy that part down.
It's on page 20.
It's just going to get me killed.
Possibly. You were running, weren't you?
Okay.
No, I was like I wanted him to run and get the hell out of here. And
what were you going to do?
Just stand there and like let the guards come down. And
you were going to get arrested. Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, yeah, I was not going to get arrested. I think I'd have the story of this scoundrel trying to kidnap me. Obviously.
Okay. I think it's gone too fuck shape for that right now.
Yeah.
Okay. Roll your leader of the pack. Roll.
I got a 7 plus 2, so 9.
So that's a 9. Okie dokie.
So, and I choose 2, so
cool.
I don't know how this would look. It says they do what I was thinking that they're not going to fight back, and I don't need to make an example of them. I'm not going to like clout somebody across the head. But if I don't pick, they do what I want, then what are they not fighting back about? Maybe some of them are.
If you don't pick, if you want to pick, they do what you want, then you have to pick one of the other ones. If you want them to actually do it on a 7 to 9, you have to pick one of the others.
Okay, so I can't pick those two. Right. All right.
No.
You know what? I'm going to pick they do what I want and I don't have to make an example of anyone, because I think they fight back only because their blood is up. They're ready to engage, and I'm telling them to disengage. So some have already turned to fight, and some are starting to split. It's more like a breakdown of who's following whom. So
it's not quite. It's not quite as professional as you would like it.
Right. Exactly.
Okay. So yeah, you kind of get them to come down a little bit. You refuse to go. The guards are coming down do you kind of run for it? They start shooting, and then the arrows come in to kind of cover you. The javelins come in to cover you.
I think that I try to lure them down, and then acting sort of nonchalant as if I'm doing what they want, and then whoever seems like the obvious leader, I like one of my guys suddenly throws a javelin at,
Okay, nice.
which I take my opportunity to like bolt for Thrum, but at the same time,
yeah, and I think this is the point where I realize like, oh, this is probably the Sun's men behind this.
Yeah,
and like, and I realize like, oh shit, like he would love to have the opportunity to have me accidentally killed. Then he wouldn't even need to charge me, right? So I'm like, oh shit. And I, as you engage, like you people are engaging them, there's gonna be a skirmish of some kind.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like a covering skirmish, isn't it? It's enough.
Yeah, I think it's sort of a fighting withdrawal as opposed to an attack, and instead of just like an everybody split.
I think you can mark some XP for engaging someone in a fight that you should not have done.
Okay.
I think that's the point where I just jump on your beast behind you, right? To be like, well, yeah, no, I'm not gonna let them take me.
When I'm of use, of course. Yeah, is that how it goes? I say as we start running.
Okay, and so it's the guards, the Sun's guards are kind of rushing to cover and stuff like that as your guys are covering it. So they're trying to you've definitely got away, but they're still going to try and chase you a little bit. So there are arrows shooting after you. So I'm going to say, Canalona, in order to get onto Thrum without being injured, you're going to have to hold steady.
Yeah.
What is the aid in this?
There isn't one.
Oh, okay.
That's a 5. That's a 6.
That's a 6. Okay.
You know what?
Okay.
If I can give a suggestion, Thrum specifically, his weakness is that he's bucking. I think that maybe he tries to get on and immediately goes into like sort of a gator roll, like saying, "Who the hell is this stranger on my back?"
I think that works nicely. I think so. What happens is you realize that you got to get off this beach. You realize you're not going to get you're not going to get off this beach by talking your way out of it. You run and try and jump on Thrum's back, and just as if you'd have gone, if you'd have given enough time in order to kind of like prep Thrum up for this, it would have been okay. But you get an arrow in the back, Canalona, just before you get there, so sort of like mid jump, and then you kind of slump hard onto Thrum. At which point Thrum does throw you both off. So Canalona take 1 harm, and you are both in the murky, and actually, as we come to it now, toxic waters. At which point we will cut back to Ether and Hayes. What are you two up to? Oh, you got a wolf in front of you, haven't you? Yeah. So what are you doing about that?
Yeah. So the guy
Hayes.
just
Yeah, he is now fully wolfed out. There was an angry wolf in between you and the door. Hayes, do you recognize Ether? Do you remember Ether?
Yeah.
I saved you, man. How could you?
Yeah, definitely. I remember Ether.
Okay, so what are you doing in this situation?
There's a wolf. I look around for any stick or knife or anything I can fight with within reach. It's a small hut. I can probably reach a lot of
you've got like a meat cleaver that you use for preparing your tea.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna grab it, and I'm not gonna lunge at him with it. But if he lunges at me, I'm ready to block him with it.
I think this is going to be this is going to be a sort of like a desperate grasp for the meat cleaver as he's lunging for you.
Yeah,
because he was already trying to kill you, and now he's a wolf.
Right.
So he's definitely going to go for it. Okay, so I think you are. Make me a Make me a hold steady roll to get to the cleaver.
Sure. 7.
Face to rest roll. Okay, it's a 7. Okay, right. You can get there, but it means if you want to get there and definitely get a hold of this cleaver, you're going to have to throw ether in the way of the wolf.
Oh shit.
You're going to have to. Well, you're going to have to put ether between you and the wolf, basically. Kind of like she's just kind of burst into the wall. You're going to have to kind of go like that to grab it. Do you do that?
Right. Yeah. Okay. I don't think I have like a free hand and the time and presence of mind to like throw ether in front of the wolf, but yeah, I definitely like dodge around ether.
Can I jump in front of the wolf?
It's kind of like it's a bash. So you are kind of not thrown in front of the wolf, ether, but you're kind of like bashed forward into its definite direction, and it's already kind of lurching forward. Okay, what do you do, wolf? There.
So I imagine I'll have to make like an attack roll first. So I kind of want to like push its head up just to redirect the attack, and then just like stab it with a jolt of poison.
Okay, I think you are engaging in combat then. So roll me plus fierce.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, plus fierce. Oh boy. What's my fierce? 0. Great. I'll be fine.
Oh, it's not hard.
All right. Let's hope 2 6s.
2 6s.
2.
Really?
No. I was just hoping for 2
okay.
6s.
Oh.
No. No, I wish. No, I got a 9. What does that mean?
You got a 9. Okay, so that means you get to choose one from the list below. So you can either attack with vigor, you can parry their blows, you battle aggressively, or you fight defensively.
Yeah, if I parry, that's kind of like redirecting, right? Is that?
It is, yeah. I think basically you would take 1 harm instead of 2.
Yeah, okay, I'll do that. I'll parry. Because that's what I wanted to do. I wasn't like intending to harm with this move. I then wanted to like redirect and then strike, if that's possible.
Well, in that case, you can fight defensively. So you would only inflict 1 harm on them, but take none yourself.
Yep, that's fine. Well, I already have armor, so I mean, it's not going to make a difference, but yeah. So
cool.
I will fight defensively.
Okay, so you kind of grab its jaws as it's coming down on you, and you kind of a little like King Kong with the T-Rex, just trying to like pull its jaws apart so that it can't get to you. Right, and Hayes, you have that meat cleaver. What are you doing?
Yeah, I'm gonna well, I'm gonna like I guess go kind of back around ether and just swing the meat cleaver down on the wolf's neck.
You are engaging in combat. Roll me fierce.
Oh, that's 2d6, not 1. 4.
You got a 4. Okay.
Oh no.
Right. Okay.
We're doing
the door bursts open as you're about to bring this down, and a bunch of armed guards, much less settled than this guy. This guy was kind of like the vanguard, but they've heard something going on, and they heard him screaming. They've seen they wouldn't have seen you, Ether, until you went through the window, but it's kind of hard to go through. Well, no, actually, it's an open window, so they wouldn't necessarily know what's going on. But they've heard the screaming and the shambles going on inside. So they burst in and grab you and are starting to drag you out. Ether, what are you doing?
I still want to stab someone with poison.
So you're stabbing. You've got a wolf on top of you at the minute.
Yes, I guess I'll go for the wolf with poison.
Okay, cool.
Or,
you could
the wolf. Yeah, I'll. So I have a move for it.
Oh, cool.
And it's called just a spot of indigestion. When you poison a victim, yeah. So I figure if I have the move for when you poison a victim, I would already have the poison. It's not something I need to like.
No.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, so I don't think it would be in my dagger because I don't think I'd want to poison someone every time, but I reckon it would be like under my fingernails. So if I scratch someone in a certain way, I could
maybe got like
the poison.
Like a little needle under a certain fingernails.
Yeah. Like if I wear a glove on one hand.
Nice.
Like that. All right, cool. Let's kill this person. Oh boy. What am I rolling with? Please let it be a
You're on
+2.
fierce.
Actually, it's sly.
Oh, it's
So I
sly. Okay,
think-
yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. We're all good. I got a 7.
You got a 7, nice. Okay, what does a 7
Oh
get you
my
on that roll?
goodness. So I choose 2.
Mhm.
Okay. So I'm going to deal 4 armor-piercing harm, and it's going to happen right now.
Oh, right.
So I
okay.
chose deals harm within the exact time frame that you want it to, and it deals the exact amount of harm you intend. So,
Okay. What does it look like as you fuck this wolf up?
yeah, so as I'm like tearing its jaws open, I imagine like I just inject it into the top of its mouth, like a dentist. And you just kind of see it's like, yeah, next time you go to the dentist, enjoy that imagery. You just kind of see its eyes like slowly roll back to face the guys that are at the door.
Yeah.
And all of a
Okay.
sudden, like all its muscles like relax. And I don't think
okay, so
my
it's quite
poison is
subtle.
strong enough to like disintegrate it, but I kind of wanted it to like sort of be like an acid inside it and like slowly melt it enough that I could like rip it in half.
Yeah, neat. Because that's
It's
gross.
4 harm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
With
work in
4 harm,
the
you can
art of
definitely do that.
subtlety. All right, so
Yeah, well, sometimes you got to send a message.
yeah,
These guys are not fucking with you. They are
That's
just
fair
getting what
enough.
they've come for, and they are going. And because it took you a little while to inject this poison into the wolf, they are out the door with Hayes, and they are
Shit.
bundling them into a boat as
Yep.
you kind of dash outside and see what's going on.
Yep.
Okay, so we will leave you there as you see Hayes being bundled into a boat, and we will cut very briefly back to Kanaloa and Yesti as they are drifting into the toxic black waters of the ocean in each other's arms.
Oh,
And we will leave it there for the evening because it's past midnight here.
yes.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Thanks, guys. That was great. Really, really good.
Oh,
Thank
yeah.
you. Yeah. No.
Before I sign off, does anyone mind if this goes up on YouTube?
Not at
Fine
all.
with me.
It's cool.
Cool.
Show
Lovely,
me
thank
ripping
you very
apart a
much.
wolf.
Yeah.
We are next on in 2 weeks' time. So